shoplifter, thief, gangster.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Thursday, November 15th, 2018. This is your award-winning Gitmo Nation Media Assassination, episode 1086.
This is No Agenda.
Brexit boots on the ground and broadcasting live from the Garden of Amsterdam and Gitmo Nation Lowlands in the Loudon Loft in the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where I'm finding boxes of ballots in my closet, I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
I was wondering, was it going to be the recount? Was it going to be the fact that you're on fire? How you doing, John?
Good.
Really? Doesn't seem like things are good in California right now.
Oh, great.
Okay.
Nice, smoky. Get to watch all these people walking around with masks on, like, you know, that does anything.
Oh.
I mean, it's not as though the air is filled with particulate. It's actually vapors, but okay. There's smoke. Smoke's in the air.
Smoke on the water. Well, give me a little report. I mean, I've been in Holland for a few days, and I was wondering what's going on. I mean, I'm seeing nothing but bad stuff.
Yeah, ballot tampering seems to be the main thing.
That's the only one. So, but just stick with the fires for a second, because there's very little good information here about what's really happening there.
Well,
of course,
they always play the fires up in Europe a bit.
Yeah, we just show.
It's actually they're more contained than before. They've already burnt down what they're going to burn down. Already killed what they're going to kill. Too many. This fire up north killed about probably, I think it's up to about 50 plus people. It's going to maybe be 100.
Wow.
Maybe.
Has the death toll? I mean, there's been plenty of times that these areas have burned down. In Malibu, certainly in '93, I think.
Well, the problem with these areas here, well, for one thing, with Malibu, you can run into the ocean. Up there's one road in, one road out, and then the whole place starts burning, and the roads get blocked, and people get stuck in their cars. They got to jump in the river streams. It's a terrible situation.
Have there ever been this many casualties in a fire like that?
No.
Okay.
Bill Godbout apparently has died in the fire in a nearby town near Paradise.
Who?
Bill Godbout's a very famous microcomputer pioneer. He did the CompuPro computers. He had a operation in Oakland where he sold electronic gear.
Oh, that's too
very
bad.
Famous local guy.
That's too bad. Yeah, I mean, all we're getting over here is just reports from celebrities.
Oh, yeah.
They love that over here. Look, there's Will Smith in the fire. Oh, look, there's Pink in the fire. Oh, look, there's everyone in the fire. It's just all the celebrities.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
What else is important?
Nothing, of course. Who cares about that? Oh, and the fact that Trump is wrong about it. No, that's another big story here. Trump said they've mismanaged their water.
Trump sucks.
Yeah, celebrities say Trump mismanaged. Trump says they mismanaged their water, and it's wrong because we all know it's global warming.
Yeah, they're trying to blame it on global warming. Of course.
I did pick up a couple of interesting theories. I think this is the most realistic, as the report comes from Pacific Gas and Electric themselves.
Shares of PG&E finishing lower by more than 20% today after the company disclosed an electric incident that happened right before the Camp Fire wildfire began in Northern California last week. The company putting out a statement saying, quote, "The cause of the Camp Fire has not yet been determined. PG&E has provided an electric incident report to the Safety and Enforcement Division of the California Public Utilities Commission. With respect to this fire, the information provided in this report is preliminary, and PG&E will fully cooperate with any investigations." The company also offered its condolences to those affected by the wildfire, saying, quote, "Our hearts are with the communities impacted by the Camp Fire." Although the investigation is still ongoing, PG&E says if it is found liable for the wildfire, its insurance would not be enough to cover the costs of damages.
So did this start because of this problem they had?
Well,
that's something I've been
why
hearing.
it's called the camp. You know why it's called the Camp Fire?
Yeah, because it was apparently a campfire that got out of control.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, who are you going to sue for that?
Well, not PG&E, that's for sure.
So they've come up with this thing that, I mean, it's PG&E is negligent in general. But somebody claims they saw some sparks coming from one of the transmission towers, and the fire started, and the next thing you know, they burned the place down. Despite the fact that it's always been called the Camp Fire, because it was started by a campfire that went out of control, and it doesn't take much if you're in the right area for that to happen. It just spreads in every which way, and it was. But no, okay, they're going to have a new theory, and PG&E's like they know they probably had something to do with it.
Now, the other thing that there's a couple of good conspiracy theory threads about this, which you'd appreciate. Of course, this was a directed energy weapon. This is obvious when you see the trees are not
out to get paradise for years.
No, actually, here's the theory. If you follow, and only you would know this, I don't know if this is true or not, but if you follow the path of these fires, and there's a whole bunch of little fires all the way down, that apparently is very close to the high-speed rail path that would need to be...
It's nowhere near the high-speed rail path.
That's what I thought.
And there's no high-speed rail that's going to be running through that area, for sure, in Butte County.
Yeah.
Come on.
I'm just telling you, that's the theory out there. Thank you for...
There's no high-speed rail running through Malibu that I know of.
No,
the whole thing is that... I saw that, too. We had one of our producers send it around.
Exactly.
I looked at it and I said, this is bullcrap. It's just like really out there.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's this is cleared up then. By the way, for those of you who are wondering why it sounds a little bit different today, is because I'm on location, and I think we've gotten we've gotten pretty spoiled by both having a gigabit between our two stations. It just sounds so much better when we're both on gigabits.
Well, that's limited in certain parts of the world. Yeah, you don't have gigabit there?
No. I've got total crap internet today.
You're always in that same little area.
I'm sorry?
You're always in that same little area of Holland, some ritzy little area where all the rich people are.
Yes, I am, but I'm not in the facility that I've been able to use previously, which was fantastic, which is an actual studio, with a better connection than here, like a business level connection, I guess they have. So I'm staying with a buddy. The reason I'm here, by the way, since you didn't ask, is because I was invited to come do a bar mitzvah. So I got a ticket, and I wanted to see my daughter anyway. And I figured, what a great time to be over here, just because I was so sick and tired of the U.S. media blaring the same crap at me. And at least now I'm fresh here to...
Now you're getting the U.S. media blurring the same crap at you through the European media.
Well, of course, the big news here today is Brexit, which I have a bit of a report on. But I do need to give you some important Netherlands updates. Since today, we had the good holy man, Sinterklaas, the Dutch version of Santa Claus, came in from Spain on his steam ship.
Was he bringing his buddies with him?
He has his black Pete's, as there was a court ruling yesterday, the day before yesterday, that said, no problem, the Pete's can be black, bring them on. So that is...
so you have a bunch of people in blackface.
Yes, we have people in blackface. It's not quite the same here in the Netherlands, that they don't know the blackface culture. But of course, you have so many different cultures now in the Netherlands, certainly in Amsterdam, that it's confusing to a lot of people. And so I don't know if there were any fights or any protests that I've seen yet, but
there be some protests, it seems to me.
I'm sure there was something.
I have a question then about the Black Pete's.
Mm-hmm.
I think I ask this every year, but I have a short memory. Why don't they just use black people? There are black people in Holland.
I'm not so sure that they don't use black people, but even if they have black people, they'll still put the big red lips on and the curly hair and the hat and the whole garb, which can always still be seen as racist. But I don't think that. It's look. The Dutch High Court determined it was okay. It's not racist. It's the culture, and go ahead proceed as planned. So,
what about the European Criminal Court? Can't they go after Holland?
Oh, I'm sure they will. This has all been a UN.
I know. I'm just
UN
kidding.
Thing. But here's the crazy thing that's going on in Amsterdam, and this is very disturbing. You know, there's a new mayor, Femke Halsema. She's from the Green Left Party. She used
Green
to be,
Left.
yeah, it's called GroenLinks, Green Left. So they represent left wing
No, I
ideas.
thought it was like the Green.
Like the Greens
finally
they
left.
finally left. No, it's Green Left. So the Green Left Party, they're left of center, and they stand for all things green. And she used to be, she has quite a long career in Dutch politics in Parliament. And now she is in charge of Amsterdam, which is falling apart. The police.
She's the mayor.
Yeah, she's the mayor, new mayor.
Oh, okay.
The police can't even. They don't even do anything with stuff happening in the city, with the tourists just going wild. Because even if they say something, they get beat up, and they're afraid. The cops are actually afraid to do anything.
Of the tourists have been beating up cops.
Oh yeah. Especially
What?
The Brits. When you got a big listen,
The Brits are the worst.
when they're in Amsterdam, they are. Yeah, they get really drunk, really high, really loud, really obnoxious, and violent. Not all of them, of course.
Here comes the Zephyr, by the way, just for your information.
All right, foamer.
Go on.
Very good. All right, so if you, I don't know, when's the last time you were in Amsterdam? I don't know how long ago this was, but in front of the Rijksmuseum.
It was a while back, probably 4 or 5 years ago.
Well, here's a little test. There's an iconic piece of artwork in Amsterdam, right in front of the Rijksmuseum. People love taking pictures in front of it. Are you familiar with what this is?
Oh, is it the boy peeing, or is it the
No,
big
that's
dick,
that's Brussels. Not even close. Keep trying.
Okay.
It's the big I Amsterdam logo. You've seen this.
Yes, I have.
It's I, and then the A and the M is in red, and then Sterdam, and it's I, Amsterdam. I am Amsterdam is the idea. And people, whenever they, especially now these days, it's been around for, I don't know, it's been here for years and years. People come in, they're like, oh, we love this, want to get a picture taken in front of it. It's fantastic. It's a big, big tourist attraction. But our mayor here in Amsterdam said this has to go because I, Amsterdam, is only individualistic, and we want solidarity in our city. And it, as of last week, it is gone, John. It is gone. They removed it.
Wow.
Can you believe that?
Yeah. They removed a piece of art because it doesn't indicate enough communism.
Yeah, no, literally, it was, I, Amsterdam, is too individualistic. We need solidarity, and so this has to go. And they voted, and it's gone.
It's collectivism.
Collectivism. There you go.
That's the word we're looking for.
Shocking, though, to me. Shocking. It's just insane.
That is nuts.
Yeah. Well,
This,
yeah.
It's just a tourist attraction thing.
Yeah, it was a marketing. It was.
Well, if people are taking there's signage in China that I've got a kick out of. I've noticed this across from Taiwan. This area of China has this big giant sign that things like 10 stories high, sending some message to Taiwan, one nation, something kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a big giant red sign, and it's all lit up at night, so you can actually see it from Taiwan if you have binoculars.
All right.
And people just flock to this thing. They have their picture taken in front of it.
Yeah, people like stuff like that.
Yeah, and so they would like something like that, the art in front of the museum, and then they're denied it.
And it's not like less tourists are going to come. Yeah. It's not like less tourists are going to come to Amsterdam because the sign isn't here.
No, but they're going to be
disappointed
if they wanted to have their picture taken by the sign. They're going to be depressed. It's going to make it a negative vibe in the city.
Yes.
Generally speaking, it's going to be contagious, and then pretty soon they'll be burning down the place. It doesn't take much.
Could happen any minute now. Oh man! All right. So on the TV here for the week. It's been one message before we knew there was a Brexit deal. The message was, everybody, you got to get ready for Brexit, particularly if you're doing business with the UK. You've got to get your IT systems ready for customs that you'll be paying, and get ready. And everyone's going, we don't know what to do. What exactly?
There's nothing to do.
There's nothing to get ready for. They really don't know. Here's the reporting from this morning as the Brexit deal became known, and of course the first party members and the cabinet members, I think, started to resign.
Welcome back to the program this morning.
Resign.
It's lovely to have you with us.
Well, I think the report will tell us.
As we continue this very Brexit-heavy morning.
Brexit-heavy.
In order to get the very latest from the UK, we're going to head straight over to Westminster because since we last spoke to you, there has been another resignation. Vincent, in Westminster, give us the update. We're now, into our third resignation of the morning?
Yeah, Belle, we only had a short ad break there, but already Theresa May has lost another Cabinet Secretary of State. This is Esther McVey, the Work and Pension Secretary. I've been saying on air for the last 24 hours, she was the most likely person to quit from Cabinet. She is a strong Brexiteer. She's also in domestic trouble with a policy called universal credit here, so that is a nice time for her to resign in protest. And she's just tweeted out a 2-page letter. I've just been scanning through it here, very similar to that of Dominic Raab, who obviously the Brexit Secretary who quit in the last hour as well. She says that the deal that was put before Cabinet does not honour the result of the referendum. Indeed, it doesn't meet the tests you set out from the outset of your premiership. She then goes on to talk about what we won't have control of, about the 39 billion we'll have to pay the EU to get out. And she says it also threatens the integrity of the United Kingdom, which as a unionist is a risk I cannot take. She then goes a little bit on the attack of the Prime Minister, something that Dominic Raab didn't do. She says we have gone from no deal is better than a bad deal to any deal is better than no deal. I cannot defend this and I cannot vote for this deal. I could not look my constituents in the eye to do that. I therefore have no alternative but to resign from the government. She talks about her time in the Work and Pensions Department, but then finishes by saying, in politics you have to be true to the public and also true to yourself. Had I stayed in the government and supported this deal with the EU, I wouldn't be doing that.
So here's the Brexiteers not liking the deal. It's more than 500 pages. Of course, I started to read it. I don't expect to have any kind of analysis, well, hopefully by Sunday. It's a little different than U.S. legislation, so I'm just kind of plowing through it. But here's a 1.5 minute summary, which is kind of what you'd expect.
Here is the 585-page Brexit withdrawal agreement, which will seal the terms of the UK's divorce from the EU. A few things jump out. They have managed to solve that problem of having an insurance policy to prevent a hard border on the island of Ireland if the future trading relationship doesn't solve that problem. If it was used, it would see Northern Ireland staying in the EU's customs union, but simultaneously being part of a new UK-wide customs relationship with the rest of the EU. If that came into force, it would come with strings attached. The UK would have to sign up to several areas of EU law, perhaps environment protection, social protection, and how the government would intervene to help companies, so-called state aid. There's going to be quite a complicated system for solving disputes that arise as a result of this treaty, with lots of committees. One of them will be an independent arbitration panel made up of independent people, but they will have the power to refer matters related to EU law to the European Court of Justice. So the ECJ will have a role in this in the years to come. It's all wrapped up in lots of very optimistic language about both sides using their best endeavours to negotiate a permanent future relationship and to act in good faith at all times. Also, that post-Brexit transition period, which is due to end currently in December 2020, could be extended once, although the document doesn't say until when. And my personal favourite, the tricky issue that was left right till the end, what to do about protecting EU regional products from specific places like Parma ham, gorgonzola, feta cheese. The UK has signed up to the EU's proposal that protection for those products is written in to British law.
Yeah, it just doesn't sound like a great deal to me, except that last bit is probably what most of it is about, protectionism of cheese.
It's a little different in the report. I have a PBS report we can play.
Okay.
But the $39 billion, according to PBS, is $80 billion, and it's $80 billion a year.
Huh.
And we got none of this information about all these guys quitting left and right. But let's play Brexit Update PBS.
In the European Union, when it comes to divorce, as is always the case, the hardest negotiations can be over property, money, and the children.
And cheese.
And so it is with Brexit. A divorce where there's not only two sides, but the British family is fighting within itself. Prime Minister Theresa May is proposing a kind of divorce with a transition period of remaining friends.
You know what I just noticed? I'm no longer hearing the D word here when it comes to Brexit. This divorce thing, they're past that, or when? I mean, of course, we don't live here, but I don't hear this divorce anymore. And we heard that for a long time. Or maybe it's just the U.S. way of looking at it.
Is the best deal possible.
Yeah.
The choice was this deal, which enables us to take back control and to build a brighter future for our country, or going back to square one, with more division, more uncertainty, and a failure to deliver on the referendum.
On property, the sticking point has been the border between Northern Ireland, part of the UK, and the Republic of Ireland, a separate country that's part of the EU. Today, cars can pass easily because there's effectively no border. The Brexit agreement prevents the return of a hard border by temporarily keeping Northern Ireland inside the EU customs union, avoiding customs checks between Northern Ireland and Ireland. On money, Britain would continue to pay the EU as much as $80 billion for decades. And as for the children, British citizens living in the EU and EU citizens living in Britain, they would maintain current residence and social security rights. This morning in Parliament, May presented the deal as the kind of divorce mandated by the Brexit referendum.
We will take back control of our money, laws and borders. We will deliver Brexit, and the United Kingdom is leaving the European Union on the 29th of March 2019.
But May's critics from her own party say the break isn't hard enough. Leading Brexit proponent Jacob Rees-Mogg wants a divorce that's a cleaner split.
But she hasn't so much struck a deal as surrendered to Brussels and given in to them on everything that they want, and tried to frustrate Brexit, that it is not so much the vassal state anymore as the slave state.
Slaves! Very nice.
We've changed from a vassal state to a slave state.
Yeah, good work. It's a Hail Mary as far as I'm concerned. It doesn't seem... Actually, of course, since Nigel Farage, he screwed it up by bowing out and kind of backing off after he led this whole... he basically dropped the ball.
Classic.
He dropped the ball.
Yeah.
He dropped the ball.
He dropped the ball.
But he did...
No, what happened was... It's like one of those guys, you see it on American football, you'll see this once in a while. There's a guy, he's wide open as a receiver, and he's running. He got the ball. There's nobody around him. And he's going to run 40 to 40, 50, 60 yards to the end zone. And as he's running, because he's a cocky son of a bitch,
he starts high-stepping.
He drops the ball literally before he crosses the end zone line.
Yeah.
This happens at least once or twice a year.
Now just imagine,
in the NFL.
Just imagine that guy with bad teeth, and that's Farage. Dropping the ball.
So you imagine Farage running down the field, and now he's prematurely celebrating and casually drops the ball because he thinks it's cool. Yeah. But it's before he got to the goal line. Well, that's what Farage has done.
He tried to redeem.
I'm very disappointed in him.
Yeah, well, he tried to redeem himself in the European Parliament, and we always love listening to Nigel, especially in this case. Angela was there. Angela Merkel, and as you know, we'll probably have some clips for that too for later or whatever, regarding the weaponization of the United States of Europe. I have a
clip.
Let's do that, and then we can do Farage. Where's your weaponization clip?
Well, it probably says Merkel and the EU army.
That would be exactly the one. Here we go.
And German Chancellor Angela Merkel called Tuesday for the future development of a European Union military.
We have made a lot of progress in the area of...
I think she said, we hebben een grote vaart gelaten. Did she say we made a big fart?
Yes, that's exactly what she said.
For the future development of a European Union military.
We have made a lot of progress in the area of structural military cooperation. That's good and is mostly supported here. But we should, and I'm saying this also because of developments in recent years, we should work on a vision of one day establishing a real European army.
Bachelet's statements echoed a vision recently expressed by French President Emmanuel Macron. President Trump attacked Macron during a tweet storm Tuesday following his tense visit to Paris for armistice commemoration events over the weekend. Trump wrote, Emmanuel Macron suggests building its own army to protect Europe against the U.S., China, and Russia. But it was Germany in World Wars I and II. How did that work out for France? They were starting to learn German in Paris before the U.S. came along. Pay for NATO or not, Trump tweeted.
There was a number of reasons he was so rude about that. But let's listen to Farage as he directly addresses Merkel, who's just sitting there scowling. And well, here's what he had to say.
Well, Mrs. Merkel, many of my Eurosceptic colleagues have been booing you this morning, but they shouldn't be in a way, because the British should be cheering you. Without you, we'd never have made it over the line with Brexit, and I want to thank you very much for that. And, of course, many of these Eurosceptic groups on the right, the centre and the left will come back here after the next European elections in huge numbers directly as a result of your immigration and asylum policy. Your weak and cope led to a huge migrant tide, indeed a stampede, that came across the Mediterranean. Young men coming from very different cultures who were not going to integrate. Young men, none of whom would have qualified as being genuine refugees. And I think in many ways, we looked at it in the referendum and we said, we don't want to be part of an increasingly German-dominated European Union, and we certainly don't want to pay the price for Mrs. Merkel's errors. And I believe, having heard you today and listening to senior French politicians over the last couple of days, that for us, leaving the European Union is now indeed a liberation. It's a European Union that we're told is now to become an empire, a militarised European Union, an undemocratic European Union, a European Union that seeks to continually expand to the east, a European Union that has launched a new Cold War against the United States of America, a European Union that tries to rewrite history. And I think 100 years on from the armistice, we should be genuinely worried. The idea that this new militarised union is somehow a recipe for peace, I suggest you all sit back and think a little bit more carefully. Maybe you should all reread history. The European project was set up to stop German domination. What you've seen today is a naked takeover bid. So I think Brexit becomes a necessity after this. And for the rest of the countries, Mrs. Merkel, you've had a long, successful career. But your political decision to open up the doors unconditionally is the worst decision we've seen in post-war politics in Europe. Is it not time for you at last to admit that you were wrong? Is it not time for you to say to German communities and many others, I'm sorry for what I've done to you and the problems I've inflicted upon you for many decades to come?
I like that one guy. There you go. Minor redemption. Minor redemption.
So that parliament there is just a bunch of people complaining.
Oh, they have no power.
No powers. They just get in. They get to talk so many. I guess they get so many minutes a month, like 10, something like that. It's not a lot. And Farage gets to go up and do his normal thing.
I'll tell you, I follow
everybody.
one.
He does a great job of it, but
I follow one Dutch parliamentarian on Twitter, Marijke Schaaltjes, whatever her name is. But all I see her doing is she's on Twitter all day. Just on Twitter all day, commenting on Trump. It's like, and
what's he got to Trump?
Well, she's like, well, hopefully we never have this here, stuff like that. And you're like, pay attention to him. We don't want that here. Stuff like that. All day. She's just tweeting. It's like, and of course I want to.
That's her job.
I want to tweet and say, go do something else. But I usually wind up erasing the tweet before I send it. It's very smart, I think.
Yes.
And then we had just a quick review of the armistice. There's a lot of things that happened at this armistice event. And one of our producers was boots on the ground. He gave us a little rundown of. Did you see that? His rundown of the whole ceremony?
No, I missed it.
This is producer Bob. He just did bullet points. I'll just share them. Trump was hating the ceremony with good reason, but the two-way arm slap with Putin was interesting. Macron, he said the whole thing was really a third-rate production. First of all, Trump and Putin were late, so they missed the 11 a.m. Events. So they were both late, so we know what was going on there. Then Macron's mic didn't work. They had to get a backup handheld. Yo-Yo Ma played 2 songs. Meanwhile, the background of the main shot had empty chairs. Now, it was drizzling, but still, you got a worldwide audience. What are people thinking? They don't have any production here. Brought in some singer from Africa. They played the bolero. I mean, all things which really have nothing to do with Europe or armistice.
Yeah, if you're producing this sort of thing, you hire people to sit in those empty seats.
Of course you do.
Or you remove the seats.
You get a bunch of people that have signs called, Blacks for Trump. That's what that's what you want.
Well, that'd be cool.
There was
you can remove the seats too.
Had a couple of teenagers speaking at the ceremony, one of which spoke in Mandarin. Again, kind of unclear as to why. Macron's.
What does that got to do with World War I?
I don't know, but it was it's New World Order, man. It has nothing to do with that. It's just it's multi-culti, no nations, no borders, everyone's welcome. Macron's speech went on for 19 minutes, was apparently pretty boring, and all the world leaders were just standing there. It was cold, they were getting wet. They found that everyone looked pretty miserable. Let's see, what else did we have? Band, royal family.
One of them should have had. There's the thing you can buy. Usually, I have one of them. I bought it at in Arizona during a kind of spring practice for the baseball teams. Mm-hmm. And I think one of them should have been wearing this. You may have seen him. It's like a hat, but it fits like a hat, but it's actually a small umbrella with all kinds of colors on it.
Yes. Yeah. Trump would look great in that.
I think Trump would look great in that.
So we had this fracas where Macron, just like what happened here in the States, went out of his way to say nationalism is the exact opposite of patriotism. And there was a couple of slights that I don't think. Did you hear about what Trudeau said about nationalism? Probably didn't get any airplay over there.
No.
Okay, so here's a report from The National, and actually, it's interesting. Everyone translated what Macron said differently. I don't know if it makes that much difference, but here it is.
French President Emmanuel Macron reminded his fellow leaders of the horrendous cost of war, and he warned of what he called old demons rising to the surface.
Car le patriotisme est l'exact contraire du nationalisme.
Nationalism is the opposite of patriotism.
What I thought was interesting is he actually said patriotism is the opposite of nationalism. Yet everyone translated it as nationalism is the opposite of patriotism. It may seem minor, but I don't think it is. Or am I just ant-fucking on this?
You might be. It's also, the way things are structured in French. You could flop things around a little bit.
I just found it interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's continue.
Car le patriotisme est l'exact contraire du nationalisme.
Nationalism is the opposite of patriotism, Macron said. When we say our interests first, who cares about the others? We erase what a nation holds dearest, its moral values. Macron's message was delivered in front of Donald Trump, a self-described nationalist and champion of America first. The U.S. president was listening just steps away, but if he was offended, it didn't show. And Macron was not alone in his warning.
If a democracy is to function, you need to have an educated populace and you need to have an informed populace.
Well, that wouldn't be America, boy.
Justin Trudeau spoke after today.
Not going to happen. Exactly. That's nowhere.
Ceremony at the Paris Peace Forum, organized to mark this 100-year anniversary. Trudeau called out those in power who attack the media.
Yeah. Listen, you got to guess who he's talking about.
Saying that can only weaken democracy.
When people feel their institutions can't protect them, they look for easy answers. In populism, in nationalism, in closing borders, in shutting down trade, in xenophobia.
No, he's wrong. They look for easy answers in podcasting.
Thank you very much. That's where it's easy.
They look for easy answers in populism, in nationalism, in closing borders, in shutting down trade, in xenophobia.
Trudeau didn't mention any politicians by name, but Russian President Vladimir Putin, who Trudeau sat next to at the Peace Forum, has been accused of using social media to foster confusion and influence elections. Trudeau never mentioned Donald Trump either, but the U.S. president routinely calls the media enemies of the people and has a habit of labeling any story he doesn't like fake news. Trump wasn't there to hear Trudeau anyways. He skipped the Peace Forum altogether.
Since in Canada, is it okay to say anyways? Is that Canadian English?
Well, let me think. Anyways,
I just found it. It's just kind of odd. It's like, anyways, maybe it's okay there. But I have been asking around here.
Go on.
I've been asking around, and I've said, do you here in Holland? Of course, this is a country that was devastated by the Nazis. Is nationalism bad here? And pretty much everyone says, yeah, it's bad. It's not a good thing to be calling yourself a nationalist. And to me, I just find it rather odd that here we are, probably the past 70, 80 years, nationalism has been defined in every dictionary I've looked at online. But
as patriotism.
So why didn't we change that in the dictionary? I mean, it's okay. The word gay has changed.
This is hijacking the language.
But when did the hijack take place?
I don't know when it was hijacked, but that word was hijacked probably... well, they would blame, you could see the interpretation, the Nazis.
Well, yes, of course.
Nationalists and
Mussolini.
I mean, the Japanese, I don't know.
But if you look up the word gay in the dictionary, which has really only meant homosexual in the past, 30 years?
I don't remember when it began, but it just took off.
Yeah, but not 70 years.
Homosexual men and women.
Yes, but that's in the dictionary as an alternative description. For nationalist and nationalism, there is no description of it being the opposite of patriotism. In fact, the first description of every dictionary I could find is it is the same as patriotism.
Well, the gay definition, if you looked at a dictionary from the 1920s, wouldn't have homosexuality as an alternative.
Right. But it does today.
Did it appear as one? And thus, since it did appear at some point as one, because that's the way dictionaries work, the nationalism thing has to appear as one eventually in one of the dictionaries, and it'll take off, and then pretty soon nationalism will be a bad word.
I think it should be word of the year. I do have a description from Jim.
You might be right, by the way.
Could happen. Jim Kessler, who's this Third Way as some think tank, I guess. He's a VP of policy. Anyway, he was on Tucker. I cut Tucker out because it just annoys me to hear him. And so I put together his definition of nationalism.
I mean, of course, a leader is going to put the interests of their own country ahead of others. That's not nationalism. Nationalism is a loaded term. I mean, the definition of patriotism is I love my country, and nationalism is I hate your country.
I couldn't find that in any dictionary. Just want to say.
He's making it up as he goes along.
The definition of nationalism, especially when you're in the European context where President Trump made that statement, is the nationalism that engulfed Europe in the 1920s and 1930s. The Nationalist Socialist Workers' Party, that's the N for Nazi. Ronald Reagan never used the term nationalist. He used the term patriotism. And especially Donald Trump is using this as a weapon. So certainly in the European context, everyone knows that nationalism is what led to the rise of Nazi Germany. And look, of course you want your leaders to put
Is that true? Is it truly nationalism that led to the rise of Nazi Germany?
I think the interpretation can be made.
Yeah.
It's just an interpretation of what led to the rise of Nazi Germany. A lot of people would say it was the economic conditions, and it was also the way they were treated after World War I.
Was Charles de Gaulle?
There's a lot of reasons that it evolved.
Was Charles de Gaulle a nationalist?
Yeah, I would say to the max.
Is he seen as a horrible man?
Only by people who worked with him.
So, certainly in the European context, everyone knows that nationalism is what led to the rise of Nazi Germany. And look, of course you want your leaders to put the interests of your nation ahead of others. That's what nationalism is not that.
Oops.
Yeah. Wow, good gag.
Isn't that great? Let's hear that one again.
Everyone knows that nationalism is what led to the rise of Nazi Germany. And look, of course you want your leaders to put the interests of your nation ahead of others. That's what nationalism is not that.
Oops.
Nationalism is basically saying our country is always right. There are other countries, they are always wrong, and it is to separate us from other countries, and he is using that term as a weapon, because that word is now a loaded term based on what happened in the 1920s and 30s, and you know it.
I would love to see that in the dictionary. It means that you love your country and other countries are wrong. That would be a great definition if we put it in there.
Well, that's the way he used it.
And
interesting.
I do want to mention that.
Well, at least people who study the way Trump operates, he's doing it on purpose.
Of course he is.
What else is new?
No, nothing else is new. I was going to say something. No, I forgot. Oh, I was going to say that.
Get back to your thought. You were talking about this guy.
Here's
the dictionary.
Well, here's my thought for a second. That everyone's falling over Trump's purposeful use of the word nationalist, and we know why he said it, but we also know why he said it, because he wanted to call out all the white nationalists. Which, by the way, the French weren't talking about that. No one was talking about nationalists being a racist thing. See, in the States, it was a dog whistle to the KKK. But over here, true or not, that was exactly what was said. Oh, we all know.
I'm not arguing with you.
Yeah, but over in Europe, it's like, well, no, he's a Nazi. It's not the same thing. But when Trump did his inaugural address, he used the word patriot and patriotism. And what did the press say about that? Dark speech. Very dark speech indeed. A bad day for America. Because he used patriotism. I remember it.
I remember the dark speech thing, too.
Yeah. So anyway.
So he uses nationalism to jack him up.
Yeah. Well, it works.
Which means, of course, white nationalism, which, of course, means white supremacy.
Yes.
Which means the man.
That's right. That's right.
Well, that is causing a lot of interesting problems in the United States with, they don't know what to do because the Democrats took over the House with more than enough seats to say they won. And so Pelosi's back in play.
Yeah. Now, has this happened yet? Is she Speaker of the House?
It's ongoing. Because there's two steps to it. First, Pelosi has to take almost all the party. Because she has to take over as Speaker of the House, the whole House votes.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, the other party in power will vote for somebody that's not going to win, who's a Republican.
Well, hold on a second. Trump said he would get extra votes for her from the Republican side if she needed it. But what I'm seeing over here, at least, is there's a faction of mainly I see AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, walking around demonstrating. I mean, she's a real troublemaker.
Well, she's going to find herself she's going to find herself screwed by Nancy Pelosi. Everybody in California knows about Nancy Pelosi. She is a hard ass, really old fashioned politico. And the story, Mimi knows a couple of these stories, and she says that Pelosi's one of her tricks is she's very personable, and she always acts kind of dumb. She's a little bit like that mobster who claimed to be insane while he was running the Genovese or one of the other families in New York and staggered around in his underwear.
Oh, I remember that. The old guy, the Don. Yeah, I remember.
And
it was the 80s, wasn't it? 80s in New York?
Yeah, I think so.
I remember that.
So Pelosi gets people in her office, and she's very personable. I guess she's a charmer, and she gets people to talk. And then she gets anything that she can on them, and then she uses it against them as blackmail. So she's like a real hard-ass type who doesn't – you wouldn't know it. But these people are walking in. It's all these newbies coming in, and it's also being led by this Marcia Fudge.
Fudge?
Marcia Fudge. We've talked to her about her before. She's a congresswoman from Ohio. She's kind of in the Maxine Waters, the Jackson, what's her name? Jackson wing of the party. But she's got her act together a little more in terms of her. She doesn't say crazy stuff. At least I haven't found anything. But here, let's play a clip of Marcia Fudge and where we're headed.
Okay. Representative Marcia Fudge.
I would say this, is we tout diversity in this party. There's no diversity in our leadership. I mean, if we're going to talk about it, if we're going to talk the talk, we need to walk the walk.
Got some diversity.
Yeah, and here's play this clip. This is Desjardins on Pelosi with Kicker.
Oh, this is from PBS?
Yes. Yeah.
She does not have that right now. In particular, 10 of the new freshmen who arrived today campaigned saying that they would vote no, would not support Nancy Pelosi. And there's another 24 who haven't said which way they would go. So there's an insurgent group of Democrats who are putting out a letter trying to get enough signatures to show that Nancy Pelosi can't cross that threshold in January. But we haven't seen the letter yet. It's not clear who their chosen candidate would be to replace her. Late today, Ohio Representative Marcia Fudge, who you heard from in our report, said she might consider running herself, but a lot of questions about that.
Well, we did hear from some of the new and the former members or longtime members just now in your report, but you've also been talking to other folks. I want to ask you what they're saying and the who. I mean, who would it be if it's not Nancy Pelosi? You just mentioned Marcia Fudge, but who else?
Well, this group of insurgents says that they would like it to be either a woman or a person of color.
Oh,
and that's one reason Marcia Fudge is a top candidate, because she represents both of those groups. But it's not.
Is she gay? That would be even better.
Clear who else would be in the mix. I think, Judy, a really important group to watch is this new group of freshmen. This is a tricky position for them. They campaigned on bringing fresh ideas, new blood to the Capitol, and here they are faced with a Democratic leadership team that has been in office for 10 to 15 years. Do they oppose them? Do they not? I will say this. It was interesting, Judy, meeting these new freshmen today. They are one of the most self-possessed and strong group of new members I've ever met. It's remarkable, especially because so many are first-time candidates.
So, self-possessed is the term she used.
Self-possessed.
Which I think means that, I think it actually, what it means is really super confident, overconfident. Which I think that means they're full of themselves, which doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, that's self-obsessed, of course. What I was reading is that Ocasio-Cortez is one of at least 10, but maybe more, maybe 14 Democrats who are trying to block Pelosi's appointment or election within the House.
Yes, this is right.
And so she's going to find herself in a world of hurt. I don't think she has any. I mean, I like that she's doing it. I think that's, she's at least staying true to her message, but watch out. You don't cross Nancy Pelosi.
Well, if you do, you better, if you're going to go after, you're going to take the knives out, you better finish the job.
Yeah, exactly. If you're going to pull out the gun, you got to pull the trigger.
Yeah, I would say. There was also a big protest. I don't have a clip of it. I do have a clip.
Yeah. That was her
climate
again.
Change protesters in the Pelosi office. Listen to this. This is, by the way, there's a woman in here that comes on, and I had to take her segment because she's so hard to understand because it was poorly mic'd, and I compressed it a little bit and kind of boosted it. Okay. But you have to listen to this. This is the woman that kind of one of the spokeswomen, and if you could see it, she is clinically. I'm not a psychiatrist, but she looks nuts.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's too bad you can't see the visual of this.
Okay, I'm closing my eyes though. Is there anyone that I can visualize to help?
You know that woman that was in the middle of the street in the green thing screaming, no, 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 Trump, Trump, Trump?
Okay, we got it.
On Capitol Hill, police arrested 51 youth climate activists Tuesday as they held a nonviolent sit-in protest out inside the office of House Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi, demanding a Green New Deal and urgent action on climate change.
Oh, yeah, it's the Green New Deal. That's what she's pushing. I've been reading about it.
And I should mention this. This was targeted at Pelosi for no real reason I could tell. She's all been for all this stuff. I think it's part of this movement to get her kicked out. And they all had very newly printed T-shirts that all said the same thing, something dumb. But it was just, it was very staged. It was very organized, and it was actually quite interesting to watch. The only thing I think where they screwed up was to have this spokesperson go nuts on camera.
Philadelphia activist Sophia Zaya of the Sunrise Movement said she's compelled to act because of the historic wildfires raging in Pelosi's home state of California.
Brother. Back in Nancy Pelosi's home state, 42 people were just burned alive by wildfires that are described as fire tsunamis that we literally do not know how to fight. And she's come to that crisis with a water gun, saying that she's going to revive a committee to talk about evidence of climate change that maybe would have been helpful back in 1968 when Exxon first learned about climate change, but that today...
except the climate change was going to freeze in 1968, Missy.
It's so far from what we need.
New York Congressmember-elect Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the Democratic socialist who last week became the youngest woman ever elected to Congress, joined the protest inside Pelosi's office, telling the activists she'd push for the U.S. to get to 100% renewable energy. Ocasio-Cortez was on Capitol Hill for freshman congressional orientation. Today's protest came as the fate of a landmark lawsuit brought by young climate activists remains in doubt. Earlier this month, the Supreme Court allowed the case to proceed, but ruled lower courts could continue to weigh in on its fate. On Thursday, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals put a temporary stay on the case while it hears a challenge from the Trump administration. The 21 young activists launched their lawsuit under President Obama, arguing the federal government has failed to take necessary action to curtail fossil fuel emissions, violating their constitutional rights.
So this is the freshman congresswoman from the 14th district in New York who complained bitterly she did not have any money to look for an apartment, yet she's there with T-shirts, and signs. So
this is an invasion of Pelosi's private space, and I don't think it's going to be appreciated.
No, it's not going to be appreciated at all.
There's a lot of people. There was more than they arrested, like 51. I think they charged 21 of them. There's about 200 people there. It was huge.
Yeah, well, I saw some.
It was
some
not covered by the mainstream media here. It was only covered by Democracy Now.
But all of this stems from, and I have to look up the Sunshine Foundation, whatever it was. Man, I got to look into that. But over in Europe, the IPCC report, we're dead if we don't keep it under 1.5 degrees warming by 2030. We're dead. We're just dead. And that's what Ocasio-Cortez keeps saying. We only have 12 years, 10 years, really. Here in Holland in particular, the politicians have taken this, and it is gospel, and shit is happening fast. I mean, just do you want to live in Amsterdam? You cannot be here anymore unless you have a battery car. That will be mandatory within the next 5 years. I mean, all the boats in the canals, including the tourist boats, and it won't just be Amsterdam, it will be all cities. We're talking within 2 years, all have to have electric motors. And
think about it. You have electric motors, which need to be recharged through a grid that can be shut off.
Mm-hmm.
If you shut off
that's what I keep telling everybody.
I can have a 55-gallon drum of gasoline in my garage if I want to.
Don't pretend you don't.
If I was freaked out, or I could go siphon gas from a car on the side of the road, but with a gas or with these battery cars to me are a form of control,
slave control. Of course it is.
And you can only go so far.
And by the way, John,
miles.
Let's say everything. There's no more gas, no more houses being built that have gas connections,
and no nuclear energy to charge everything. Can't have that. We have to use wind power.
Well, of course the nuclear energy has been pumped into the Dutch heads, the Gouda heads. It's like, this is dangerous. We don't want another Chernobyl. It's gotten so far that one of our producers said, you remember Pandora's Promise? It was actually a CNN funded documentary. No. You do, because Sir Atomic Rod consulted on it. I went to see it in the movie theater, and it was where like 3 people were there because there was some, like Sabrina the Teenage Witch opened up next door and there was no one in the theater. Well, it's called Pandora's Promise, and it's a bunch of former Greenpeace people who hated nuclear energy, and then once they really were exposed to some science about it, they completely flipped. That movie used to be on the Dutch Netflix. It has been removed. It's gone. That's how far it's going. Yeah. It's anyway. So the IPCC report and so the Green New Deal is what's happening here. Is a whole new economy built around batteries and electricity. That's the whole economy, and I guess wind and solar as well to charge the batteries. But yeah, if the price of oil goes up, cost of living goes up. But it's kind of slow. It can take a couple weeks, a month. It goes up, it goes down. But with electricity, you can just determine tomorrow. No, we're just going to raise the rates. Boom. It's completely discretionary. So yes, it's totally slave control.
That's a control mechanism. Yeah. It's much better.
What you want is you don't want the gas. You want the diesel. You want the diesel vehicle, and you can do anything with a diesel.
Yeah, 55-gallon drum.
Yeah, that will work. I do have a crazy social justice warrior going nuts. You asked me on the other day if I could bring a couple more crazy clips.
Oh,
Orange Man Bad stuff, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You interested?
Of course. This is what I like the best.
This is, let me see, which university was it? Well, I'm just going to go out on a limb and say it was in California. Just a guess. And Dinesh D'Souza was doing a speech. As you know, Dinesh D'Souza, a very dangerous man. Troublemaker for sure, but very, very dangerous man. And I think we could put him in the Nazi category. Could we put him in the racist category, even though he's brown? But can we put him in the racist category? Can we just put him in all of those categories?
If you feel like it, I'm not going to object to it.
Here is someone who was going to see the speech. Honestly, if I were to draw a perfect white Republican guy, that would be the guy who's just standing there talking to this very upset white man. And here's what it sounded like.
Maybe if someone had stopped stopped Dinesh D'Souza, all these motherfuckers who make a fucking living out of spewing hate, you should crawl back into your mother's rancid womb, gestate for a few more hours, slide back out, and then learn something about not being an entitled white piece of shit. Because motherfuckers like you come here and you have no idea what it's like to be gay, to be a person of color, to know what it's like to live with institutional racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia. Yeah, you idiot. Do you not realize? I told you if I had chocolate milk, I'd spill on you, and then you'd be such a little baby, because that's who you kind of people are. You fucking cry about chocolate milk getting spilled on you. You had a Jewish woman arrested at Florida State. Yeah. Crying? You're the one who just threw that at my face. Yeah, because you deserve it. You deserve a lot worse. Yeah, I'm passionate. I don't believe people should be promoting hate speech that leads to mass shootings by angry, white, broad-turner motherfuckers like you. If I was your father, I would kill myself.
Oh, man.
Who's he yelling at?
There's some guy who was just saying, hey, I'm just going to go in and watch this lecture. And this guy is just railing on him.
On who?
To this the Republican-looking guy who just wants to go in and listen to the speech.
He's just some random guy he's screaming at like this.
We don't see the setup, of course, of what happened, but the confrontation is this guy's going in, and this guy, is basically saying you can't go in there.
Talk about your amygdala problem.
Oh, this is bad.
This guy's out of control. He needs to seek therapy.
He does, and he's also
probably has to be put on meds.
It's like he's not already.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very, very sad. And there was something that happened in your neck of the woods in Berkeley. This was a very upsetting affair for the students of Berkeley, and it's I have to have a report, and then I think I can explain a little bit. This is, by the way, is only about student the student congress, and so I guess they all pretend like they have government at school and they have senators. I wasn't aware of this.
The Associated Students University, ASUC, yeah.
What's it called?
ASUC.
ASUC, okay. Well, Senator Chow, who is an elected senator at the school, she's Asian American and she's Christian. And with this whole and they had 5 hours of people yelling about her because she has to be denounced and she needs to resign. And the reason
why does she need to be denounced?
I will tell you. When Barack Obama was president, he sent a letter. It was I think it's a friend of the court letter, maybe. I don't know if it was a friend of the court, but a friend of something letter regarding Title IX. And Title IX is very, very simple. It says any school in the United States that has any type of federal funding may not discriminate based on sex. And what the Obama administration did is they wrote a letter, and the letter said, by the way, sex and gender are interchangeable. That's how you should interpret Title IX, and this is how we got the bathroom issue. Because you could then identify as a woman and go to the female bathroom. And so they changed the interpretation. They didn't change the Title IX, didn't change the Civil Rights Act, which is what Title IX is a part of. They just said, this is how you interpret it. There is an understanding that the Trump administration wants to send their own letter and say, no, gender is not the same as sex, and sex is determined at birth or pre-birth, and it comes right down to chromosomes. And what was expected is that the entire student government denounced, that's really what was denounced that memo, which has not been published, which is, it's not, there's no law, it's just an interpretation, but everyone has to yell and scream about that. And she said, look, I have to be true to my faith. I am Christian, so I believe that there's a man and a woman, and that is the only two types of sex you have. And I'm going to abstain from voting against this.
So she has to be denounced just for abstaining.
Yes, abstaining. And it got heated. What was interesting about this, and I'll just play a little bit of this clip. I think it's like 40 seconds or something. So this is a big room, and there's speaker after speaker. They had 100 different speakers all bitching and moaning about this. But the kids in the auditorium, there's some applauding going on, but in general, they're all finger snapping. It's just finger snaps, which I know you kind of like because you were
it's cool, man. It takes you back to the 50s when it was bongo time.
Exactly.
When trans people are under attack, what do we do? Stand up, fight back. When queer people are under attack, what do we do? Stand up, fight back.
Say no, fight back.
Last week's Senate agenda appeared to be business as usual, but this week's meeting was anything but normal. After making anti-LGBTQ plus statements
So she's being accused of making anti-LGBTQ plus statements by abstaining from a vote. That's why she's being accused of being
Where did you get this clip?
This is Cal TV. This is Berkeley's own on-campus TV station.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Fine.
Oh, yeah.
To be business as usual, but this week's meeting was anything but normal. After making anti-LGBTQ plus statements last week, ASUC Senator Isabella Chow met with backlash. It was standing room only in the Senate chambers. Supporters of Chow and a vast majority of protesters spoke. ASUC tells us that over 100 public comments were made in the span of 3 hours.
Then maybe the senators who are sitting here right now, too, can as well. Right. We should not be the only ones demanding for your peer who has said these things going against the ASUC Constitution. I am ashamed of y'all sitting here who have not denounced her.
A petition circulated prior to the meeting calling for Chow to resign. Other calls included the possibility of a recall, as well as urging the ASUC to revoke sponsorship from the InterVarsity Christian Fellowship, who actively supported Chow. Undergrad, grad students, and even alumni took to the podium.
What did she say? Alumni? tell me it's alumni.
Yeah, it's alumni. So you think, is that what she was talking about? I don't know what the word she said was.
She said
alumni?
Alumni.
Alumni.
InterVarsity Christian Fellowship, who actively supported Chow. Undergrad, grad students, and even alumni took to the podium.
Tonight is not about bullying Senator Chow, but making our campus and wider community understand the impacts of invalidating and demeaning rhetoric. Tonight is not about free speech, but about the separation of prejudice and personal beliefs with institutional policy. Tonight is not about dismissing the Christianity as universally toxic, but about validating the experience of those at the hands of bigots who have cowardly hid behind religion to justify their actions.
So they're saying that this fellow student, is a coward and hiding behind her religion to be a bigot.
Christianity is toxic, universally toxic. He said.
Toxic. No, I think he said we don't want to call it universally toxic.
No, I don't think he said that.
Yeah, he did. He did.
Well, he did. Well, he said it in a way.
Yes, I agree. It was purposely said that way. But wow, I mean, they're all playing grown up, and they're just a bunch of punks, really. What do they know, these children? What do they know? We're in this
high school
student government, and we're going to...
Something to mock UN.
Recall votes. I mean, come on. It's just crazy. And they can't even get the acronym right. I am the only true official source of the acronym, and I will give it to you again. LGBTQIAAPK. There's no plus. K is the last one, and that stands for kink. And that is all you need to know. However, our buddy down under, Maynard, he's always sending us little cool interviews, and this one actually works well for us. He interviewed Fiona Pattern, who is... I think she's a member of the Sex Party, which now is called the Reason Party. But he grabbed a hold of her and said, he asked her about the acronym.
And that seems to be so common, doesn't it? Thou dost protest too much.
And particularly in the religious circles, the ones that really hate the gays tend to like a bit of dick.
That's right, exactly.
What did Maynard just say?
What did he say?
He said, the ones who are the most vocal about gays tend to like a dick, I think he said. Let's check it again.
Religious circles, the ones that really hate the gays tend to like a bit of dick.
That's right, exactly, yes. I'm not gay, but the guy I fuck is. Yeah.
Hey now.
And how do you go on doing the LBGTQI? Can you actually say that in one sentence?
Yes.
Go.
LGBTIQ plus. Now, so you just put a plus at the end.
Does that just include everyone else to stop adding more letters? What's the reason for that?
I think we're going to come to, yes, we cannot add any more letters to that acronym. In fact, I tend to just call it my rainbow community or my rainbow family.
Oh, there you go. My rainbow family. I like that. Rainbow family.
Yeah, family.
Thanks, Maynard. Hey, by the way, just a question. Seeing as there's been such controversy over the Redskins as a sports team,
yeah,
should we not have the same conversation about the Nationals?
Well, if they're called the nationalisms.
No, they're not called the national. Is a member of the sports team, the Nationals, a nationalist?
I think, that's just a facetious question, but I would say that if you put together a pressure group and made a stink about it using nationalism as the basis,
we could probably do it.
I'll bet you could get some traction.
And with that, I'd like to thank you for your courage and say in the morning to you, John C., which is just one of the C's in the IPCC report, Dvorak.
In the morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry from far away. One of those ships at sea, the boots on the ground, the feet in the air, the subs in the water, and all the dames and all the knights out there.
In the morning to the troll room. Hey, trolls. NoAgendaStream.com is where you can listen live and join the troll room. They always get the bat signal on Thursday and Sunday mornings, U.S. time. And thank you for being here and keeping us live and on our toes. Also, a big in the morning to Cesium 137. He brought us the artwork for episode 1085. The title of that was Trans-Aged. And this was an interesting piece of art for two reasons. One, it was just a great piece of art with, if you'll recall, John, it was the multiple profile faces and the white one in the middle with the big X on the forehead.
Right.
That same day that we released this, and I think Nick the Rat tweeted it, the Google homepage image was eerily similar.
Do you think they stole it?
No, I don't know why. And it could have been the other way around. Maybe Cesium got inspired. I don't know.
I don't think so. Cesium's not that kind of guy.
No, I don't.
He never gets inspired.
I'm not. Hey, no. I would never say that he had done that, of course. What happened here? Oh, brother. Let me see. It's still working? Yeah, okay. But it was uncanny. It was just like, wow, it looks, I mean, it's not the same, but it's the same concept. It's very interesting. And we thank Cesium 137 for that beautiful piece of art and all of our artists who diligently support the program by giving us art to choose from, not just for the album art of the show, but also for the newsletter. And of course, a lot of this does wind up at noagendashop.com. It's noagendaartgenerator.com. Thank you again, everyone, for your courage, especially Cesium 137.
Well, we do have a few people to thank for show 1086. As we head to show 1089, which is an important show for all kinds of symbolic and metaphorical reasons.
Okay. Why?
It's 33 squared.
Ooh. Is that 1089?
Yeah.
33 squared?
Yeah.
Excellent. All right.
Multiply 33 times 33, you get 1089.
Fantastic. All right. Well, we're not there yet.
Well, we got shows to go. It's coming soon. Sir Onimus of Dogpatch, $1,000 and two.
Hey-o.
$1,000
Nice.
Yeah, I put it $2.
Two.
So he did send a note in as usual, with no jingles, no karma.
Mm-hmm.
This is from Sir Onimus of Dogpatch in Lower Slobovia. Dear listeners and producers, just a reminder that in this record-setting economy and stock market, give thanks this month with donations to the show. Thank you to and all the people behind the scenes that support your infrastructure and remarkable data resource offered in show notes. You are my oasis of the ears and mind. No Agenda's value for value model never asks nor cares who you are. The message is simple. Don't send blankets or water. Just send your cash if you receive value. And so I subscribe for my monthly value. So thus I subscribe to me. To listeners that believe this is a Trump apologist show or right-wing whatever, let me be clear that this presidency has a very negative and direct impact on my personal life and my family's safety. And yes, like a broken clock, the man is right twice a day, and that annoys me. I support this show because it deconstructs propaganda from media outlets. The current media overstates his BS, which doesn't need exaggeration, just as they overstated Obama's brilliance, which needed their help.
Yeah, excellent
John
point.
and Adam's work helps me identify how the media is trying to manipulate listeners for their own benefit. Listening well, it can help anticipate future trends and policies. No Agenda is an extremely valuable source of media agenda information. Trump apologists, not a chance. Truth advocates, definitely. Happy Thanksgiving to all, and subscribe to the show.
Sir Onimus of Dogpatch, thank you so much. And Lower Slobovia, of course. Was there a reason for the $2?
You'd think he would have said something.
Yeah, he always has little secret messages.
Yeah, maybe it's code for something that we don't know. So I've been suspicious of.
Once again, some Sir Onimus of Dogpatch code we can't decode. It never fails.
Maybe somebody tells what that is in binary. Kevin Brockman, 33333. And he says, drunk donation. Your night of bottoms filling here, making a donation to give value for value. I recently deleted Facebook, and this donation is to reflect the amount of time and pain I have suffered from being off Facebook. I believe this donation brings me to Baronet. But who cares? Yours truly is possible Baronet of bottom filling. So he's the Baronet of bottom filling. Is there a list of?
Yeah. I think we have him here. Let me just double check. I'm pretty sure we have him.
Carroll in Indianapolis. 3333. I'm sorry, that was Kevin. Oh
no,
okay, that was. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you went too far. You went way too far. You went way too far.
No, No, I read his. I read Carroll's. That was Sir Warren Carroll of Indianapolis.
Okay, I see what you did.
I read his complete donation.
Okay.
And that's what it was. I said it was from Kevin Brockman, who actually wrote this. Thank you for your sanity. And he also donated $333.33.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for the sanity, as you guys are my only source of news now. I always crack up.
I love that. I love it.
I love Adam's OTG segment, and even tried going OTG, but realized I had no way to listen to the show while driving. You can burn CDs.
Well, by the way, the OTG phones that I've recommended, you can absolutely listen. You don't have a nifty little podcast app, but you can certainly download an MP3 and play it. Yeah, in fact, the E71
you can download. You can just go put it. Does it hook to the computer, and you can just see a file there?
No, you can just download. It has Wi-Fi. You download on Wi-Fi. It has Bluetooth, and you can stream it to your car on Bluetooth. I mean, is it slick? No, but that's kind of the point.
Anyway, says that no way listen to the show while driving. Can I get a de-douching?
You've been de-douched.
And he would like a goat karma and a respect.
R-E-S-P-I-C-T. You've got karma.
There you go. We already did Sir Warren Carroll, who is going to be upgraded to baronet.
Yes.
Sir Chris Barron of the Carson Valley comes in next as associate executive producer, $233.33. Forgive me, Podfather and Buzzkill. It has been many months since my last donation. The story of the inception of podcasting reminded me of the secret Miami meeting between Adam, Ron, Weiner, and yours truly.
Yes, of course I remember, Sir Chris. I forgot to put that in the history of podcasting. The secret,
that's why he wrote in.
The secret meeting in Miami. Oh,
apparently,
my goodness.
He was left out of your story.
Well, this was after the podcasting had already launched, and it was in iTunes, and it wasn't until then.
Seems like a million years ago, he continues.
Yeah, it was.
Keep up the great work on the show, and if I may humbly ask for some job and health karma, it'd be much appreciated.
Yes,
Sir Chris Barron of Carson Valley.
Yeah, KJ. And since I screwed up the goat karma for Sir Warren Carroll, I will turn that into jobs, health, and goat karma.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
The goat karma is for Kevin Brockman.
Yes.
Michael Hager in St. Louis, Missouri is our last associate executive producer. And he came in with $200, St. Louis. Loved the show. That's all he said. Short and sweet.
Yes, thank you very much. And thank you to Michael Hager and Kevin Brockman as non-royalty and peerage in the top today. And, of course, we have Sir Onimus of Dogpatch and Sir Warren Carroll and Sir Chris Barron of Carson Valley. Always good to see those names there. And thank you for supporting the work that we do. And here we are once again, different corners of the globe and still bringing you the show. And that support is appreciated. And this is why you get a real credit for an executive producer or associate executive producer. You can use this wherever credits are accepted. It seems to get jobs as well. And we'll be thanking more people $50 and above in the second part of the show. And remember to support this for our Sunday broadcast at Dvorak.org/NA. You have certainly learned a little bit about some words like nationalism. Come on, propagate the formula.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth. Order. Order.
Shut up, slave.
Yo ho. Okay.
We've talked about the Lear Foundation a few times.
Oh, I would say we have.
And you have that old clip, but I was watching somebody drew to this.
Well, hold on a second.
Came to my attention by one of our producers.
Can I just say something? Why don't we, if I can find it here, why don't we just play the numbers clip from Hollywood Lear? It's actually the Hollywood Health and Society Lear. I can't forget what the exact name was.
Yeah, it'll be in this next clip.
Yeah, I just want to put this in here. Wait. No, shoot.
Actually, it would be better. You keep looking for it. It'd be better played after my clip.
Okay, we'll do that. Any intro, or we go straight for it?
This was an introduction. They were playing a preview of a Mattis Secretary show to a group of writers, and this was done as part of an anti-nuke, a unilateral disarmament operation promotion. And they had the producer, and they had the.
This is the Madam Secretary episode that we played the other day.
No, this is one that was the last of the end of season 4, where they were going to have a nuke exchange between Russia or China or something, and it was going to blow up the world. And they actually have a second clip from that. But in this clip, she's doing the introductions of everything, and she goes on an exposition about the Hollywood Health and Society operation out of USC, which is run by the Lear Foundation. And it had all these extra details and some of these other things that make you think, what a great operation. And I just thought it was because it represents one specific point on the political spectrum. I think it's onerous, but they all love it.
Was to forge a partnership with Hollywood Health and Society, which I think many of you know is a program of the USC Annenberg Norman Lear Center. And we did that because we knew, that's good, applause is fine. We knew that the Hollywood Health and Society program shared our belief in the ability for popular media, television and film in particular, to shape culture and to change minds about important social issues. Hollywood Health and Society serves as a free resource for writers, producers, and others in search of accurate information on health, safety, and security topics. In addition to consulting on the threat of nuclear weapons, Hollywood Health and Society also deals with a vast array of topics such as cybersecurity, clinical trials, maternal health, reproductive health, HIV, aging, chronic illness, disability, and more. Hollywood Health and Society recognizes the profound impact that entertainment media has on individual knowledge and behavior, and offers several resources like consultations, in-person expert interviews, tip sheets, panel events, and screenings like this one tonight to reach the entertainment industry and the broader public with timely and important information.
Yes.
It's got it together.
I wonder, recently, and maybe the past month, maybe 6 weeks, I've been receiving emails from, it seems like it's not really from one organization, but it's clearly someone trying to put somebody on our show. Now, of course, they've never listened to the No Agenda show, so they have a list of
Apparently never listened.
No, they have a list of podcasters, and they'll email like, hey, this is going on. This is what's happening in the gay community. And if you'd like to talk to this expert about it, we can get him on your show today. Contact me. And I wonder if they're somehow maybe connected to the Lear Foundation. It's happening a lot. I'm gonna start forwarding you some of these because
they're very
may be
aggressive.
better than I am at that. Yeah. So I couldn't find the original numbers clip, at least not on the mobile rig for some reason. But the Lear Foundation, and Norman Lear, who famously created All in the Family, which was very important for the narrative in the United States, as Archie Bunker, although acted at the time as a typical blue-collar Democrat, was created as a Republican, and for the, 9 years that show was on? Pretty much...
Or longer.
Longer than that, pretty much cemented in the American psyche what the typical white, straight, old, racist, KKK, Nazi quadroon male looked like, and it's Archie Bunker. And so they continue to put stuff into TV shows and movies, and it's
it's propaganda.
It is propaganda.
Call it what it is.
Yeah, propaganda. Exactly.
It's propaganda designed, and they put it in a lot of movies, designed to get you to think the way they want you to think.
Yes. Yes.
Just
And I think it's very effective.
Yeah, it's very effective. They're very good at it.
Yeah.
That's why they're everyone loves them. Everyone in Hollywood loves them.
Of course they do. But they also hand out free consultancies. You know, if you're like all of the medical, that's what they've done. I think that's really what they started doing a lot of. All of the medical shows, like, you know, everywhere from General Hospital to St. Elsewhere and whatever else we have. I don't watch that much television. They always have their experts in there to make sure that you're, you know, technically talking correctly, and you know, and then they might as well just put a couple things in there to make sure you all understand that we're diverse here on the show. So that's how it works.
So they are. So just as an aside, this guy Avenatti was arrested. I don't know if you got that news.
I got his statement.
Well, I have the background.
You got a story? You got a story?
Statement.
Okay, let me see. What is it? Avenatti arrested. This sounds to me like a fantastic hit job.
Late today, police in Los Angeles announced that they had arrested the brash attorney who was taken on President Trump. In a tweet, police said, "We can confirm that today, LAPD detectives arrested Michael Avenatti on suspicion of domestic violence. This is an ongoing investigation." The arrest stemmed from an incident involving a woman, but investigators did not offer any more information about Avenatti, who took on Mr. Trump and his former personal attorney Michael Cohen in court on behalf of porn star Stormy Daniels.
It has always been our intention to make sure that this case proceeded expeditiously and that as much information as possible would be known.
In her lawsuit against President Trump, Daniels alleged that she had an affair with Mr. Trump before he became president and that she was paid to keep quiet about it shortly before the 2016 election. Avenatti also represented Julie Swetnick, who made sexual misconduct allegations against Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh during his confirmation hearing. The president fired back at Avenatti.
We had another woman just reported by a sleazebag lawyer named Aviate.
But Swetnick and Avenatti's claims were never corroborated and have now been referred to the Justice Department for an investigation. Avenatti has sought out media attention, and earlier this year he traveled to Iowa to test the waters for a potential Democratic run for president in 2020.
Now, this was CBS. Shame on them. Shame on them. It is so obvious to see that, you know, he was very detrimental to the Kavanaugh process, that he probably ruined any chances of a blue wave for the Democrats to take over the Senate in addition to the House, if it was possible at all. But, you know, clearly this is a hit from the left. Like, get this guy away from us. You know, why do they have to spin it towards Trump? He's the best thing that ever happened for the Republicans. So
the Democrats.
No, he's the best thing that ever happened to the Republicans. Because he's
Democrats too.
No, he was screwing the Democrats. He screwed it up.
No, I'm talking about Trump. You're talking about Avenatti. I'm sorry.
I'm talking about Avenatti, yes. I said, why doesn't CBS state the obvious that this would, you know, clearly
they don't know the obvious, and you're talking about Jeff Pegues, who's the only straight shooter on CBS, and he will not veer out of the lane.
And he didn't really he won't veer out of the lane. But I have the statement. I have the statement from Avenatti. It's worth hearing.
But they actually that I would say, unless that statement was not available at the time of this airing, that would be remiss, because Pegues would usually hit a piece of a clip like that.
He had a little piece of it, just a very short piece. Here's the full statement.
Very brief and very succinct. First of all, I want to thank the hardworking men and women of the LAPD for their professionalism and their work today. They had no option in light of the allegations. Secondly, I have never struck a woman. I never will strike a woman. I have been an advocate for women's rights my entire career, and I'm going to continue to be an advocate. I am not going to be intimidated from stopping what I am doing. I am a father to two beautiful, smart daughters. I would never disrespect them by touching a woman inappropriately or striking a woman. I am looking forward to a full investigation, at which point I am confident that I will be fully exonerated. I also want to thank everyone for their support that has reached out. You know my character. You know me as a man, and I appreciate it. Thank
you. You know me as a man, and I appreciate it. Thank you. I got daughters.
That's about it. That's his excuse.
But the accusation is serious. The accusation is that he.
Well, there's apparently pictures supposedly. I'm going to just say what's in the mill that's been floating around right wing talk shows.
Yeah.
Supposedly there's pictures of her with her just bashed the shit because apparently she took a shot at him or took a punch at him, and so she's beaten up, and there is also supposedly him claiming that she hit me first. She hit me first.
I hadn't heard that.
We'll find out eventually.
Yeah.
But I like the way he thanked the cops for not beating the crap out of him.
Right. Thanks for doing a good job.
Was.
Yes. Thanks for doing a good job, guys. Exactly. Let's see. Couple other things that were going. Actually, give me a little update on the because I've completely lost track of the elections, the vote count, I should say. What do we still have an issue in Florida?
Florida is still a problem. They're redoing a lot of votes in California, and I don't really have an update clip.
Okay,
but because they're all pretty boring, the machines in Florida stopped working. And Florida is just a nightmare. I do have something that's kind of an update that you need to catch up on, which is what's going on with Amazon.
Okay. You mean Amazon HQ2?
HQ 2.5 or whatever it is, because they got two of them, one in Virginia, one in New York. The New York one is backfiring as I was suspecting it would. And I want
because of the tax breaks?
Well, because of New York. So I have
enough said, yeah.
Yeah. I have a clip, an intro, and then I have this guy, Kim, who's a state senator or a state assemblyman, who's going on and on about this. And then I have a third clip, which is the U.S. Congress Progressive Caucus, which is kind of a contrast to what these other clips are doing. But try Amazon Intro DN. I think I have a dupe of that.
We begin today's show looking at Amazon and corporate welfare. Protesters are heading to the site of Amazon's future office complex in Long Island City, New York, today to condemn the city and state governments for showering Amazon with massive tax breaks and other giveaways in order to entice the company to expand into the city. On Tuesday, Amazon officially announced it would split its so-called second headquarters between New York and Arlington, Virginia, just across the river from Washington, D.C., after being offered more than $3 billion in tax breaks and other incentives. As part of the deal, New York taxpayers will even build a helipad for Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos, who is the richest man in the world. Amazon recently became the world's second U.S. company to be valued at over $1 trillion, thanks in part to the fact that the company paid no federal taxes in 2017. Amazon also built its company in part by not collecting local sales taxes on goods sold online.
No, I got to say two things about that. One, the helipad is no big deal. Shut up. It's not a big deal. Getting it certified
takes... Hey, man, he can build his own helipad then.
It's not like a big, whoa, boy, thanks, man. That's really cool you built that. Two, saying it's disingenuous for any report to focus on the fact that it's just across the river from Washington, D.C., where what's really going on, it is next door to Spook Central. And
no, they emphasize the Pentagon rather than Spook Central.
Yeah, but it's Spook Central. Arlington, Virginia.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to argue this. No. This is a very poor report. Play the Amazon intro without...
I just want to explain why that's a problem. Because let's just presume that they're all in bed with the spooks. They probably are anyway. The amount of data, corporate data, applications, online web stuff, I mean, the entire commercial internet is, even we, to some degree, use Amazon's infrastructure. And how fantastic it is to just, people can just walk across the street and walk right in, and we can go look at it. We could technically look at anything we want to. That's a huge problem. I mean, everything has an Amazon, AWS backend somewhere.
Hey, man, don't you trust our government?
All the way, bro.
Play this Amazon intro that just says intro, because at the same time I thought it's the same clip, but this may be something else.
We begin today's show looking at Amazon and corporate welfare.
Stop it. Kill it. The problem is I obviously screwed up.
No, that's okay.
Oh, no, I didn't. I didn't screw it up. Move down to Cuomo and Amazon, because they have Cuomo going on and on about this. Is kind of important.
The largest economic development initiative that has ever been done by the city or the state or the city and the state together. For every dollar we invest, we're going to get back about $9, give or take.
Just like the Olympics.
So to find the money that we need to invest in the subways, invest in schools, etc., this is a big money maker for us.
It doesn't make money for the shareholders. Why would it make money for you?
Costs us nothing. Nada, niente, goose egg.
Hey, he speaks multiple languages.
We make money doing this.
That was Governor Andrew Cuomo, who joked he even would offer to change his name if Amazon selected New York.
Anything else I can think of that'll get us over the top, anything they want named Amazon, I'll change my name to Amazon Cuomo if that's what it takes.
What a douchebag. Oh, my goodness. He said that. Anything they want, I'll change my name. Really?
I'll change my name to Amazon Cuomo.
Very good. Well, from now on, that's what he's known as Amazon Cuomo.
So this guy comes on to rant about this, and I thought it was kind of funny because he makes a comment that the progressive wing of the Democratic Party took over the state assembly in New York State, and they're not going to put up with this. The problem that I have with it is there's a discrepancy with what the progressives want on one hand and what they want on the other. But let's play. This is Kim. The guy's name is Kim, and he is the senator they brought on.
Yeah, first of all, I am absolutely outraged that New York, under Governor Cuomo, is willing to give away up to $3 billion of taxpayers' money without any consultation. This isn't my money. This isn't your. This is the people's money that is willing to just give it away to the richest man on the planet when we are literally sleepwalking into a supernova catastrophic financial meltdown.
Did he see supernova instead of supernova? Man, people are not good with their language no more.
Consultation. This isn't my money. This isn't your. This is the people's money that is willing to just give it away to the richest man on the planet when we are literally sleepwalking into a supernova catastrophic financial meltdown after 10 years from the last financial meltdown. More people living in debt than ever in the history of humankind as we speak right now. In New York alone, New Yorkers, we have over 1 million New Yorkers living with student debt, unable to pay the minimum amount, barely getting by.
This is, by the way, is AOC Ocasio-Cortez's argument as well, that we could have paid off everyone's student loan for this.
But instead of
when did the student loan thing blossom? Wasn't it under Obama?
No, I think this can. Wait, you mean when the actual debt blossomed?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that's within the past 10 years for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, didn't he? Yeah, no. No. I believe that Elizabeth Warren, as a part of her grand scheme, I think she did something where, yes, I remember what it is. Even if you go bankrupt, you can't get rid of that debt. That's what it was. Good work, Obama.
Is that her contribution?
Yes, it is.
In New York alone, New Yorkers, we have over 1 million New Yorkers living with student debt, unable to pay the minimum amount, barely getting by. But instead of bailing out the people here in New York, our own Democratic governor is willing to transfer wealth out of New York and give it directly to the pockets of the richest man on the planet. That is ridiculous. And it's about time we step up as Democrats and as progressives and really put an end to corporate welfare.
Well, Assemblyman.
And by the way, that's total horseshit. I mean, it is not, he is not, no one is Cuomo is not literally giving the money to the richest guy in the world. That is just not true.
Give it directly to the pockets of the richest man on the planet. That is ridiculous, and it's about time we step up as Democrats and as progressives and really put an end to corporate welfare.
Well, Assemblyman, this whole issue of how the Mayor de Blasio and the governor negotiated this deal, as you say, in secret, and then apparently the mayor agreed to allow to bypass the city council by allowing the state to be the prime mover in assembling the land and the project. Could you talk about that and what could be done at the assembly level to challenge that?
I'm introducing legislation to claw back this deal. Under the New York State Constitution, actually clearly states that we're not allowed to give any corporate subsidies or money to the private sector or business or corporation. They're getting around it by working with quasi-government agencies that was designed for the last 60 years to execute this type of transfer of wealth. And we can redesign it. Because we designed it, we can redesign it to work for the people of New York. What's the point of having a majority progressive Democrat state Senate that we work so hard for in the state of New York if we can't stop one man from transferring $3 billion of taxpayers' money to the richest man on this planet?
There you go. That's New York thinking.
Yeah, it is New York thinking. And I'm reminded, and I'm not taking either side on this, but I do have some thoughts, but I had to first play this Progressive Caucus Priorities that is I think I got this from PBS, or it may have been Democracy Now! Also, but play that so just for a little backgrounder.
Sorry, what was the title again?
Progressive Caucus Priorities.
Okay.
Members of the Congressional Progressive Caucus held their first news conference since the midterm elections Tuesday, with the caucus expected to grow to nearly 100 members when the new Congress is seated in January. Democrats took a cooler tone when asked about plans to abolish ICE, an idea many progressive Congress members pushed earlier in the year at the height of the public outcry over President Trump's family separation policy. Caucus co-chair Mark Pocan, who introduced a bill over the summer to do away with ICE, said abolishing ICE is still on the agenda, but that higher priorities for the caucus are health care, jobs, and dealing with the culture of corruption.
I like to play this culture of corruption thing, but jobs is on the big three list there, and they don't know how to do jobs. This guy is going on about, the $3 billion giveaway, and it's actually tax breaks.
Well, if I may, I know I'm a small, insignificant player in the universe, certainly when it comes to New York politics, but I accurately predicted there would be a fantastic employment opportunity no matter where Amazon goes. And once again, I am from the future.
What lies ahead for Arlington, Virginia, and New York City now that they will be home to new headquarters for Amazon? One way to find out is to study the city that has been headquarters for Amazon up to now. Carolyn Adolph reports from member station KUOW in Seattle.
Seattle city planners thought they'd get 18,000 workers when they signed up to put Amazon in a neighborhood north of downtown. They got 45,000 people and 6,000 dogs.
6,000 dogs!
And that's just the headquarters. People here cross the street in packs.
And the people are dogs too!
The Whole Foods at noon rivals Grand Central Station, and lunch is a huge affair.
Man, who would want to live there? 6,000 dogs go to Amazon's work.
I don't know how you could twist this
every
story
day
into an anti-dog story, but you did it. I salute you.
Thank you. I was just waiting for my opportunity, sir.
Jeez.
I love dogs. It's dog owners I have a problem with.
I will say that this part of Seattle that they're talking about is really been transformed to such an extreme. It's very weird, very early in the morning or on a weekend or something, because it's very strange, like being in a financial district on a weekend, if you know what that's like.
Like Wall Street. Of course I do.
Yeah, it was like it's spooky.
Or like the city in London.
Shoot a movie. But I have mixed feelings about this, and I should mention what I think is that Queens is really pretty much like Oakland or a Hayward. It's not suburban technically, but in some ways it is. And it's pretty shot. It's nothing like they've revitalized Brooklyn, and now everything's very expensive there. And Queens properties are all going to be going skyrocketing. And people, I always get a kick out of people who say, "Oh, geez, I got this house, but now I bought it for $20,000 and now it's worth $5 million. I hate these people for moving in here." Which is a very kind of a complaint you get up in Seattle, and it's going to improve overall. It's going to modernize. It will modernize, and probably to the benefit of Queens. It will move a lot of old ladies out, and it's going to be a problem, but they'll be getting some compensation, I'd hope. But it's going to be ruined. It's going to be ruined and improved. You don't know what to say, but it can't keep going. It can't just keep being Queens forever. It's really Queens is. I have no offense to the Queens listeners. I'm sure there's a couple, but it's just not It's not a vibrant place. It's a town full of commuters and old timers.
I haven't been there in a long, long time, so I wouldn't know.
There's no reason to go. There's no reason to go.
I do have a related Amazon story, which we're kind of waiting for the follow up to this to get some important information. Yes, you going to say something?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought
there's crows flying around the house.
Oh, well, he's coming for you.
Millions of Americans have them.
Of crows flying over the house as we speak.
Okay.
State prosecutors hope one of them contains crucial evidence in a double murder case.
Alexa comes with a price.
Timothy Verrill is accused of murdering 48-year-old Christine Sullivan and 32-year-old Jenna Pellegrini. Authorities say they were stabbed to death at this Farmington home in January of 2017. As Verrill awaits trial, a judge has granted the state's request to access recordings of an Amazon Echo smart speaker, which was in the kitchen at the time Christine Sullivan was killed.
I think most people probably don't even realize that Alexa is taking account of what's going on in your house in addition to responding to your demands and commands.
UNH law professor Albert Schur says this is becoming more common. Prosecutors believe the Echo, which uses Alexa voice commands, might have recorded audio of the moment Sullivan was attacked, as well as the removal of her body. State police have the speaker, and now the judge is telling Amazon to turn over the recordings from its server.
The Attorney General's office was smart not to just say, hey, we got possession of Alexa, the dot, so to speak. We can do whatever we want with it. They were smart to get an order from the court.
Amazon says it won't release any customer information until a valid legal demand has been properly served.
So, of course, the reason why we're watching this case is to see if there is indeed some recording that would not have been triggered necessarily by a wake word and was just there, or how did it know to start recording based upon some screams, or we don't really know. But I'm very interested in this, of course.
Yeah, you played a similar clip last show.
Oh, I did?
But we haven't gotten any further.
We haven't gotten anything. I do have, and this is the yin to the yang for Amazon, if we're talking about retail, there's a new network being set up, a network of retailers. Let me just get the name of this company. What are they called again? They're called Face First, which I don't think is the best brand in the world, but it's because you could interpret it many ways. It's a
salute.
Yes, a facial recognition retail company, and they intend to use loyalty rewards to get you to use your facial, your biometric data, your face, so they can scan your face for the loyalty rewards program, which I'm sure a lot.
Who's going to go for this?
Everybody. Are you kidding me? Oh, please. Of course people will do that. For free stuff? Yeah, of course they will. Actually, let me play their little promo reel here, heavily edited by me to remove stupid pauses and dumb pieces of music.
What if you could stop retail crime before it happens by knowing the moment a shoplifter enters your store? Could you avoid a potentially dangerous situation? And what if you could know about the presence of violent criminals before they act? And what if you could easily identify missing children and victims of human trafficking? With Face First, you can stop crime before it starts. the world's only patented enterprise retail face recognition platform proven to radically reduce crime and perform flawlessly across thousands of locations, making it the top choice for big box stores, department stores, grocery stores, pharmacies, and other retail operations. Reduced shrink, safer stores, and fast ROI, all in one turnkey solution. Learn more at facefirst.com.
And so the video, of course, is shoplifters. And you Minority Report, zoom in, rotate, enhance, match. Rapist, shoplifter, thief, gangster, lost child. It's all this stuff.
But put a time code down, please.
Okay, but they are, they're using all of the retailers. They're collecting all of their data from all of their customers. I'm sure they're matching it with, purchase data, credit card data.
Of course, it's all done for that. But then, law enforcement can also find use for this stuff.
Yes. So look forward to that. It's probably deployed in many places. We just don't know about it. I have not received the loyalty program request for facial recognition, though, yet. Wow, your chair really needs some oil.
If you're hearing anything, it's those crows.
Oh, okay.
I mean, there's there's not as bad as it was a minute ago, but these crows. I saw this murder. Was group of crows is called yesterday over by Whole Foods. It's about 1,000 of them, and I don't know what they're talking about, but they're talking.
They're talking amongst themselves. Yes,
they are, and there's a area around here where they decide to meet up once in a while, and they fly over the house and they just make this horrible racket. But your problem is with crows; they're a very smart bird. You can't throw anything at them or anything because then you're screwed. They'll just crap all over your car and
they're vindictive.
It's terrible.
They're vindictive. Yeah,
you have to be very friendly to crows. Just a tip for people who aren't familiar with these birds. Okay, go on. I'm sorry.
There was a New York Times article, an expose about the face bag, and did you read? Hopefully, you read this about. How the head of IT went to the board and said, "Hey, holy crap! I haven't been able. We still got these Russians in here. This is a big problem."
Yeah, right.
And she was yelling like, "You threw me under the bus!" And they used all kinds of horrible. In fact, the claim that the New York Times printed is that Facebook itself worked with a Republican, marketing firm, and they actually steered people towards a fake news. Facebook steered people towards a fake news article about Soros funding something, and they did that to isolate different groups of people, but they were using these actual tactics. I mean, it's the whole article is well worth a read. And I was looking today, and the stock is, this stock was $218 just a month ago, or maybe 5 weeks ago, and now it's at $143. Well, at least last time I looked, and they're in big trouble. They're in big trouble. At least on the stock. You don't think so?
Nah.
Oh, come on. The kids are all off FaceBag. I mean,
they haven't been on FaceBag for years. It has nothing to do with this.
Well, I think it does have a lot to do with it. When you have Mark Benioff, CEO of Salesforce, saying Facebook is the new cigarettes, I think that does hurt.
Sounds like it would be more attractive to kids if you say something like that. What's your theory?
Well, the numbers itself, and there's a lot of studies have been done, show that at least 45% of heavy FaceBag users have stopped using it or deleted the app. And that is, from what I understand, pretty much across the board. The kids were already on Instagram. They're already not interested in FaceBag. Doesn't matter because Instagram, I think, is very successful. It's probably keeping the company afloat. But when you having run a public company, when you have a stock price in decline and bad news, you get new employees who came on, their stock is way underwater. They haven't vested and they just see that it's all negative. The money's negative. You get a negative vibe. You get there's people protesting inside, outside the company. It's not good. It's really damaging, and particularly for people who were thought to be such high flyers. And I'm sure there's a brain drain. There's all kinds of things going on. And then you get Wozniak. I'm not quite sure why he weighed in on it, but he was asked about social media in general, and he came up with something about FaceBag in particular.
Oh, I think social media is a good thing that serves a good purpose. Even Facebook. Great idea when Zuckerberg was in the dorm. This is going to get people together and they'll be able to communicate ideas that are important to them. It wasn't, he didn't sit down and say, how can we come up with something that later on will be able to trick everybody and make a ton of money advertising what their desires and wants are. Oh, no. I think social media has a good part. It's not right for me. In other words, it's good for some people, most people, but for me it's not, because it doesn't work well for me. I'm a little bit of a quiet, shy guy.
Well, you do have a Twitter handle, I noticed.
I have a Twitter handle, but I never read Twitter. I never go in and actually participate on it, except to share my location, something I started a long time ago with an app that was called Foursquare then, so my wife would be able to see where I am. And somehow I just kept doing it out of habit. We stick to our habits better.
If anyone wants to kidnap a wealthy guy... I mean, why would he say this? This is pretty crazy. He is worth some bucks.
I'll tell you one thing: the social networks become so habit forming. I used about a year ago. I used Facebook for the first time, even though I had a Facebook handle and sometimes answered people's inquiries where they saw me post where I was. I only used it for three months. I would be standing in a line at an airport, and I'd start scrolling through. Look at all these posts, all these funny dog ones. I'll send them, and I saw some of my good friends were in there, and then I thought it's habit forming, and I don't like addictions, and I don't like things that are habit forming. And I said, wait a minute, if I've got solitaire, I don't need Facebook. So I gave up my account, but I didn't say it's bad for other people. It's not good for me. It's not the right thing for me. I gave it up, haven't missed it, have felt only good since. And yeah, I've missed some nice, good fun animal and people and animal helping animal type videos. I miss that. I could go find it somewhere.
What is he's in animal videos?
I don't know.
Oh, about that. It's a little odd, Woz. Let me just cite this directly from the New York Times. While Mr. Zuckerberg has conducted a public apology tour in the last year, Ms. Sandberg has overseen an aggressive lobbying campaign to combat Facebook's critics, shift public anger towards rival companies, and ward off damaging regulation. Facebook employed a Republican opposition research firm to discredit activist protesters, in part by linking them to the liberal financier George Soros. It also tapped its business relationships, lobbying a Jewish civil rights group to cast criticism of the company as anti-Semitic. I mean, these guys were doing some nasty stuff.
You think any corporation's not doing that kind of thing constantly?
Well, yes, but they're so holier than thou.
Well, yeah, if you buy into it. I just think Facebook is Facebook, and unless something comes along the way Facebook came along it was LiveJournal, and then MySpace came along and knocked them out of the box, and then Facebook came along and knocked them out of the box. And I see nothing that's come along that will take Facebook's place. And until that happens, what are you going to do?
Oh, I think Instagram has already done it. I think
Instagram's a different model. It works completely differently.
Yes.
And Instagram's owned by Facebook. I mean, they at least
I know
have a clue about that.
No, that's okay. That's my point. I'm talking about Facebook. The product is definitely in decline in usage.
Yeah. Well, I'm not. I still think it's a.
Hey, you know what? John?
As a publishing vehicle for targeting advertising, I don't see how anything can beat it.
Okay, Instagram beats it. And I would advise you buy the dip.
I think it's overpriced at this price.
No kidding. It should be $15.
Instagram, how is Instagram more targeted?
No, Instagram is the ads. First of all, Instagram's algorithm is really, really for shopping, for items you want to buy. There's a swipe up, and it works very well. And people, if you say, have you ever clicked on an ad on the internet? No. Have you ever swiped up and clicked on something on Instagram? Yes. It's very successful in selling products. Extremely successful. The algorithm, the whole...
Can it sell no agenda?
No.
Why?
No. This is for clothing. It's for... food for, like
food for the mind.
Good. Yeah. Go ahead. Go try that. No, this is all about the influencers and what they're wearing. It's for junk. It's for trinkets and shiny objects and sneakers and that kind of stuff.
It's like the Home Shopping Network.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. It is the Home Shopping Network with hosts who are not paid by the Home Shopping Network. They're either unpaid or they have, some small deal as an influencer. Yeah, I believe that to be very, very, very successful. And I think that, yes, we had communities go away. We saw it with AOL and GeoCities. I totally agree. But we didn't have algorithms running at the time. And this is turned people off, killed people, made them sick. But add to that a healthy dose of just bull crap. People they're looking for happier times, and Instagram, I believe, delivers that. And Twitter is still the cesspool. I think a lot of the arguments just go on over there. You don't hear the M5M referencing Facebook that much. It's like, it's all tweets. Everything you see, every quote is a tweet, not Facebag. Yeah, Facebag is where you go and look at someone's profile after they've killed people.
Well.
Right.
All right. Well, that's our analysis of social media, the John and Adam analysis. Adam's a huge fan of Instagram, apparently. That's replaced his huge fandom for Facebook, which he's rejected out of hand.
You should just stop while you're ahead, because you're sounding really stupid when you do this to me.
You both use Twitter?
It's totally stupid what you're doing. Don't do this. Yeah. Don't do this. People are interested in these things. They have an opinion about it.
Well, I'm interested in Facebook for advertising.
Well, I've heard you say this for 5 years. You've never bought a single ad. I'm
going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh, yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, it's in the works. In the morning.
It's in the works. It's in the works.
He who controls the board controls the flow.
Somebody who I'm a planner, so 5 years is not a long time.
All right.
Someday there'll be an ad on Facebook for the No Agenda show. Meanwhile, we have a few people to thank, and we don't need ads for them. They voluntarily help through word of mouth. Laura Wilson at the top of the list, $133.33. And I have to read her note because she says, the sad puppy gets me every time.
And the sad puppy's hanging around, apparently.
She needs some goat karma at the end.
Okay.
The sad puppy, yeah, is still there. Sir Kaz in Richmond, Surrey, Great Britain, 133.33. That's two of them. He does have a title change. I don't know if it's on the list. I don't think so because it's not marked.
No, he's not. So
Kaz from now on. Prior he was Sir Kaz of the 30 Trees.
Got it. I'll put him in.
Did you notice that a lot of people are pulling back from their more elaborate?
Yeah. What's up with that?
Name to something simple?
I don't know. What do you think's going on with that?
I don't know. I think it's
corny. Well, I'll tell you why. People are probably using these credits and taking it seriously. And then
I see. That's
hey, I want to get a job.
Seriously, it's some crazy name.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sir Washbottom of the dirty toilet. It's just not going to get you a job.
Well, depends what you're going for, but
All Love in Mechanicsville, Virginia, $111.
Oh, P.D. Love from the Daddy Cast.
Yeah. He says, not Paul, I hate Paul. Well, being called Paul.
Yes. P.D. Love. P.D. Love has been around for a long, long time. Early days, early podcast. He should be in the story of podcasting almost.
He should.
Yep.
Stephen Kunkel in Atlanta, Georgia, $111.11. Those are our two tribute
Thank you very
donations.
Much. Yes, 1111.
Ronald Schull, 6543.
He needs a F cancer. He'll be in the troll room today, recovering from surgery. Yes, we will give you an F cancer.
Jeff Kelly in Arnold, Maryland, and he did send a handwritten note in which I feel obliged to read.
All right.
He's got a lot of, I think there's something changing here too, because he's got a bunch of accounting at the bottom.
Oh, yes. Let me see. I do see something changing. You read the note, I'll take a look.
I didn't send it forward.
Okay.
So it's 6008. He says, I'm glad to hear my lopsided boob donation has caught on with some others.
Mm-hmm. Very good. You should be very
Please
proud.
accept this donation as my final installment for knighthood.
Okay. So Jeff
I would
Kelly.
henceforth like to be known as Sir. SN 10. Pronounced Sir 10. So it's Sir SN. That's the chemical 10. It means 10 on the periodic chart.
So he's Sir SM, but we say Sir 10?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for complicating our lives. This was the time to donate. I'm near the end of the age 33.
There you go.
My newest human resource spent his first few days in ICU, the ICU room 33.
Yeah.
And since you never cashed my Asian boob donation of 8008 Vietnamese dong.
I wonder why. Did you was it a bill that he sent? Just a paper note?
I think it was just a dong note, maybe. Which is what the Vietnamese notes are, dongs. I figured that, unless you send a check, I don't remember that. Because I usually send them to collections. We usually get something out of them. I figured that I moved toward a legit earldom of Indochina. I guess cashing a check for 35 cents, 8008 dong, is more hassle than it's worth. That was what it was. It was
all
a
right.
check.
It was more hassle than it was worth.
For 35 cents, which I put aside. Keep up the great work on the best podcast in the universe. Jeff Kelly Arnold, Maryland, soon to be Sir 10.
Yes.
And he's got his accounting here. I didn't put the 35 cents in. Could have, but he didn't. So he's on the list.
But he's also he is the creator of the lopsided boob donation.
Yes, he is. He's the originator. Jim Buell, 5833 in Spring Hill, Tennessee. He said he also clicked on the sad puppy.
Works like a charm.
Sir Duma, 5678 in Holland, Ohio. And he's got a note here that we have to read. Sir Duma checking in after Great Michigan Local Number 1 meetup. First off, I'd like to call Pat of the Local 1 out as a douchebag. Douchebag.
Wow.
And then he's got some ideas for us to read, which we'll do off air.
Right, but he suggests something you and I have already talked about is, still try to bring in backgrounders like I failed to do today with the Hollywood Lear Foundation, but that's the idea, to restate. And it's, I catch myself all the time. I'm thinking, we talked about that. But then I realize most people have never heard half the topics we've discussed on this show.
This is true. But we have let's stop and let's analyze this. For one, we don't normally think about that as we're doing the show, but I think the way it works best is when someone sends, and I don't mind this, someone sends in a note asking for some background, saying, I don't know what you guys are talking about. You've been talking about this for weeks, and you're referencing something I just started the show a year ago, and I've never heard this.
Right.
Then we usually take notice and we say, we have to do a little background to catch people up. And it's better than being self-conscious about it, I think. What do you think?
Yes, that's good, but I prefer to also have some self-consciousness in there. We'll even reference players in the political field that are just not known to a new producer or new listener who comes in and just is checking the show, or there's just a lot of different things. Like if I said to you Baku, you start laughing right now. Oh yeah. But we've gone to great depths about Baku, the oil city that it is, and how important it is strategically. And by the way, the unbelievable cityscape that they have. These things are important from time to time when it comes up in a new item.
Yeah, if it's an old thing we're revisiting.
Yeah, of course, just a callback. But I don't think it's necessary to explain goat karma. I don't think we have to do that. You don't have to understand goat karma. You just have to bathe in it.
Sir Vic's barren wasteland of the hot southern bush in Milford, Michigan. 5678, another 5678.
And these guys had a meetup and they all donated. I love it. Thank you.
Michigan Local Number 1.
Yep.
Yusef Higazi in Plymouth, Michigan, another one, 5678.
Number 1 also had the meetup. Thank you so much.
Remember, Michigan won. So they did have a discussion about donating, and they all came in with something. Christopher Dechter, 5678. He doesn't say he's from Michigan, number one, but I'm guessing he is. Timothy Kiernan in Plymouth, Michigan, 5678. The November 10th newsletter was the best ever. Do more history, deconstruction, and analysis of non-Trumpian things. This is Sir Timothy, the no-fixed title. Actually, Sir Timothy. Yeah. Sir Lucas of the Lost
Can I just say, it's kind of hard. I mean, it doesn't matter what topic we have news from. We're not putting the Trump angle on it. We had several stories today. It's like, why do they put Trump in the story? So
yeah, you were bitching about the Jeff Begay story where you thought he was twisting it to point the finger at Trump.
Yes, when
it was a neutral story.
But you know what? If you want a 2-hour show, we'll stop doing Trump stuff. It might even be an hour and a half.
The media themselves have talked about this, and they say, we've tried to take Trump out of our news, and our ratings go down.
That's not why we're doing it. It's just that's our source material.
Yes, that's the material we're getting from them. So if they have it and we get it from them, we have to say something about Trump because he's in the story, even though for no good reason a lot of times. But, we minimize it. Today we haven't talked a lot about Trump. The rest of the show will be all about Trump. Sir Lucas of the Lost Bits in Tacoma, Washington, double nickels on the dime. Bradley Shellnut, parts unknown. Here's some note here.
The motorhome epidemic in the Bay Area.
Yeah, thank you for the best. I wanted to corroborate John's Bay Area motorhome epidemic he made on either No Agenda or Unplugged. I think I was on No Agenda.
Both, probably.
The large amount of people living in motorhomes in Mountain View, he's in Mountain View, is astounding. Also, too bad for all the propositions that passed because California's vote assumes the best of people. Just going to say, keep up the good work.
All right. Thank you.
Jeffrey Schwab, double nickels on the dime, parts unknown. Jennifer Hedrick in Harvard, Illinois. And we got a happy birthday, buddy.
Yep.
James Moore in San Pablo, California, 5115. Right up the street from me. Matthew Smith, 51. And the following people will be $50 donors, name and location, if available. Sven Eric Janssen in Austin, Texas.
Hey.
50. Doi to doi. Paul Eaton, Adam Weisner in Green Bay, Wisconsin, Robert Weber in San Jose, California, Dame Patricia Worthington, a regular from Miami, Brandon Savoy in Port Orchard, Washington, Mark Johnson in Aurora, Colorado, Keith Yarborough, also in Austin, Texas. They need a meetup.
Yes. Hey, look, I had a bat mitzvah. What can I tell you?
Trevor Hoagland in Portland, Oregon. John Holler in Missoula, Montana. Peter Snakes in Amsterdam.
Sir Pete Snakes. Did he do that twice?
He gave twice as much. You know why?
No.
He says if John gives me a 90 degrees, he's just some reference. I don't know what he was talking about. I will donate twice as much.
Well, why don't you find out what that was?
I didn't care because you just donated twice as much. Because what I did is I took his photo off of Twitter, twisted it 90 degrees on Photoshop, and reposted it.
Okay. Good work, John.
Yeah, maybe that's what he wanted. Mm-hmm. Chris Slewinski, so that's actually $100 from him. Chris Slewinski in Sherwood Park, Alberta. Sir Andy Kluber and Catherine in Terre Haute, Indiana. That came in through Pop Money. And Stephen Kirkpatrick in Langley, Washington. 50. These people all helped us out and produced show 1086. I want to thank each and every one of them for their support. And we got 1087 and 1088. And then the giant
big 1089. That's right.
The biggie.
The
whopper.
The super magic number squared. Fantastic. Thank you all very much for supporting the show. It is how our value for value model works. We just asked you what you thought the show was worth. To some, it's worth very little. To some, it's worth a lot. To some, it's worth making a piece of art. To some, it's worth making end of show mixes and just giving us information, boots on the ground at different events from Pennsylvania to Paris. We have boots on the ground reporting. We had that again today. and could not be prouder of the work that everyone does in keeping the show going. And, of course, we thank everybody who came in under $50 for reasons of anonymity, or you're on one of our many, many programs. Every single newsletter, John talks about them. Please subscribe to the newsletter. And remember to support the show by going to
Dvorak.org/NA.
Some specific cancer stuff.
Jobs.
And jobs. And jobs.
And jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
And today being the 15th of November 2018, we do have a couple of birthdays belated because he turned 46 on November 10th. Is Walter C. in Chandler, Arizona. He gets congratulations sent to him by Sir Some Guy in Phoenix, Casey Chrysler. And we have Dean Calvin says happy birthday to his son Levi, and Ken Freiberg, happy birthday to his daughter Emily. She'll be celebrating on November 22nd. And we say happy birthday from everybody here at the best podcast in the universe. And we've got, we actually have a knighting, which we didn't know you get there. Oh, I see it. Okay, good. All right. Jeff Kelly stepping up to the podium. Sir, thank you very much for your contribution to the best podcast in the universe in the amount of $1,000 or more, and you are now eligible, and please would like you to take place at the round table of the No Agenda Knights and Dames, and I proudly pronounceate thee certain. Yes, for you, we have Hookers and Blow, Rent Boys, and Chardonnay. We've got warm beer and cold women, zucchini and meatloaf, waifus and waffles, rabbit meat and goat milk, bourbon and bong rips, pinball and power cords, goat chops and goat milk, Polish potato vodka, diet soda, and video games, beer and blunts, ginger ale and gerbils, breast milk and pablum, and we all love the mutton and meat. Go to noagendanation.com/rings. Hand over your girth, your ring size to Eric the Shill. We'll get you out your official night ring, signet ring with the sealing wax, your certificate, everything. And please tweet out a picture so we can share that joyous moment with all of our other royalty and other peerage members.
Come gather round, douchebag, producer and slave, as we all thank your brothers and sisters who gave, and some of them knights, some of them dames, for the titles are a-changing.
The title changes. Sir Warren Carroll becomes a baronet, and Sir Kaz of the 33s does not change in peerage, but changes his name to Sir Kaz. That is now official and recorded as such. Again, thank you all for supporting the show. Dvorak.org/NA. We do it twice a week. The next one on Sunday. I did want to catch up just briefly, aviation-related story, which I was all prepared to talk about and try and explain it, and then Steck sent me a clip this morning. I was very happy. This is regarding the Lion Air crash that happened about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago.
Right,
everyone
737 stretch.
Max. It's called the Max, the 737 Max. The thing with the
stretch is an old reference. It's funnier.
Well, it was the DC-8. Was the DC-8 stretch or the 10 stretch?
Yeah, it was a DC-8.
That thing was grotesque.
It was longer than a football field, I think. Little wings.
It looked weird. But the Max, what's different about the Max is they have different engines, and they've moved the engine a little further out on the wing, so they're also a little bit more forward by, I don't know what it is, maybe half a foot. I'm not quite sure. I've seen some overlays. And what that does is, they took a plane, the 737, I think the SN was the most recent one, a very stable plane, which, all modern aircraft of this size have some form of additional help for controls. But it kind of destabilized the airplane in a way, and gives you a little more different characteristics when you're in a certain bank. And that's purely because the engines then start to provide lift when you don't expect it, which is all okay because they put in some systems to combat that problem. Now, it's not proven that this is what happened to that Lion Air aircraft, but here's a story that kind of explains what went wrong.
Tonight, top aviation experts say the Lion Air pilots may not have understood why their new 737 MAX was suddenly in a nosedive or how to get out of it. Investigators believe the plane's sensors or its computers had bad data suggesting a potential stall. But many veteran pilots didn't know the 737 MAX computers can force the nose down to avoid a stall, even when pilots are flying manually. Boeing's operator's manual does not highlight the change. You're upset because Boeing didn't inform the pilots.
Right. That information was not disclosed to our company or our pilots that system existed.
Now, Southwest, United, and American Airlines and their pilots' unions are issuing urgent bulletins to get the word out. There is a fix. Simply flipping a switch should have turned the automatic system off.
As you can see, it stopped the trim.
But not knowing the problem, the Lion Air pilots appear to have continued fighting to pull the nose up.
Literally in a matter of seconds, I'm in a nosedive. Airplane is basically out of control.
Boeing says it's working to fully understand all aspects of this incident, and it's confident in the safety of the 737 MAX. Meanwhile, pilots are warning each other how to recover from a potentially hidden danger.
So this is very, very bad that this happened. I'm not quite sure exactly how this could get past any kind of certification. The FAA is usually pretty good about this, because if you change anything in the aircraft, it has to go into very well documented manuals. This goes into training. There's a whole, the process broke down somewhere, and it's possible. And this is what I find interesting. July 2017, Boeing announced they were creating an in-house avionics unit, reversing decades of outsourcing the avionics to India. So this would be either, I don't know how far they got with that, if they completed it, but there's a changeover. Something changed in avionics, and I think that may be to blame for the process breaking down. Whether that happened because of it was done in India or was done in Seattle or whatever happened, obviously it created a very bad day for a lot of people.
Well, I've never been a fan of Indian coders.
Racist.
There's nothing to do with race. They're good at designing hardware.
No, I'm just being hip, man. I know you're not racist.
I do have a report on that, though, from JC is working for a number. He's working for these companies, and one of the things he does now is he hires coders. Uh-huh. And he has his list of good coders to bad coders, ethnically. I'll get the list accurate.
First of all, he has a list. I love that. It's
JC. Got a list.
It's JCD's list.
It's like the best code. Apparently, some of the best coders are Muslims.
Mm-hmm. But, why is that?
Well, I have theories on that, but I'll get the whole list and we'll go through it. And then it's just for people out there, the dude's named Ben, they might want to know about this because they do a lot of hiring, a lot of them, a lot of our guys.
So has he categorized it? Has he categorized by what?
He's got a whole theory about it. Yeah.
Oh, well, are you gonna present that to us, or is it proprietary?
I don't have it. I mean,
not today. I'm asking you. Will you?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Don't take everything. You're on edge, man.
The benefit of our dudes named Ben who do a lot of hiring. They the funny thing is they probably already know all this, but
yeah, I'm extremely interested. So my question was: Is Buzzkill Jr. prepared to give up his entire research or on the show, or just a little bit, or what can we? I'm very interested.
Well, he'll give up what he wants to give up. I don't know what it is. I'll ask him.
Oh, do some producing.
Could be the whole thing. He doesn't care.
Just asking. I'm excited. I'm excited. I want to hear about it.
Yeah, I guess you are.
My theory is the best programmers, I don't call them coders, the best programmers are musicians. In particular, bass players seem to be extremely good at programming.
Well, that's good to know. I'll say we got a couple of things we want to get out of here. One, this is a report that was done, passed around. It showed up in the news. It was done on CBS with Jeff Glor, and he brought on our friend, the ex-CIA,
Mike Morrell.
And you have to, unfortunately, I can't give you this. I can only tell you that Glor had the most skeptical look on his face I've ever seen him have as he tried to get through this thing, because I know he has to just read what it says. But he was like, wasn't buying any of it. And I'm not sure I'm buying much of it either. This is the military stark warning. And listen to the details. Wait, listen to the details of how it's twisted at the end with some phony analogies. It's just unbelievable.
We got a stark warning today. A report says that the U.S. has lost its military edge and could lose a war against China or Russia. That is the conclusion of a bipartisan commission selected by Congress.
I'm sorry, did he say just China, Russia? As like one country, or China and Russia?
China or Russia, either one.
Oh, or Russia, okay.
And could lose a war against China or Russia.
Right.
That is the conclusion of a bipartisan commission selected by Congress. Among its members is Michael Morell, former deputy director of the CIA and current CBS News national security contributor. Michael joins us from D.C. tonight. So explain, how do we get to this stage, Michael?
Really two main developments. One abroad, and then one at home. The one abroad is...
We forgot about this guy, didn't we? He used to say right.
He still says right, but now he's saying a lot. In fact, there's so many ums in this whole report, including from Jeff, that it's like, is this even, or they want to throw the number 33 in while they're at it.
Explain this. How do we get to this stage, Michael?
Really two main developments. One abroad, and then one at home. The one abroad is that our main competitors, and we're really talking about China and Russia here, have for some time been investing in fighting a conventional war while we've been mired in 17 years of counterterrorism. The other is a development here at home, which is the Budget Control Act of 2011, sequestration, which significantly cut defense spending, and put those two things together, and they've brought us to this place.
But the U.S. still spends $716 billion a year on military. China's $175, Russia's $60. What are we doing wrong?
So our competitors have a much smaller area of the globe to worry about, right? They worry about primarily the regions in which they live, and we're talking about Russia, China, North Korea, Iran. We have to worry about the entire globe because our interests are diverse.
Are you optimistic this all gets fixed?
So I'm not. There were similar warnings in 2010, similar warnings in 2014, Jeff, by similar panels. Nothing was done. This reminds me a bit, Jeff, of all of the strategic intelligence warnings in the years before 9/11, and we all know how that story ended.
All right, Michael Morell, always appreciate your perspective. Thank you very much.
Wait a minute. Whoa. What happened at the end there? How did we get to 9/11 all of a sudden, which we all know how that ended up there? What was he trying to say?
I think what he's trying to say is that although he's not doing, it's really lame, but what he wanted to say was, we had all these warnings before 9/11 from these different agencies, but we couldn't put two and two together. And thus, we have all these warnings because this happened again in 2014. I guess they did a similar report saying that we need, here's the military. It's a military report saying, hey, we're right now we're spending more than the entire every world's army put together by a lot.
And we suck.
And we need more money.
Yes, it is. Don't send water, blankets, just send your cash.
We need more money.
Ebola back in the news. We love Ebola.
Yeah. We do.
And the reason why we love it is because, we've had experimental vaccines which just disappeared from the radar, and that was actually funded by the government or guarantees were given. Never heard anything else about it. We had a lot of military people in West Africa when they were there to save the world, and they saved us from Ebola. What, we had like 30,000 people there, some crazy amount of military. And we had, one guy, and we were all going to die, and we watched the plane land and his ambulance drive to the hospital, and we're like, holy crap, this guy's, his just everything's kind of coming out of every orifice, and then the guy just kind of hopped out of the ambulance and walked into the hospital. That was a little bit of a letdown. But man, Ebola, and I thought we had thwarted this evil beast, and there'll be no other reason to send military in anywhere for any reason except Ebola.
New cell phone, a necklace you just bought, and Ebola. You might have forgotten the name of that deadly disease, but there could be a connection between the three. This is the Democratic Republic of Congo in the heart of Africa. That's where you find a lot of the...
Remember, we just learned that Israel received a container ship full of oil from DRC, which we still haven't figured out exactly why, but they got that oil from the Congo.
Pricey resources that the high-tech and jewelry industries are after. But who's in control of all that?
The illegal extraction of minerals, timber, charcoal, and wildlife has fueled violence in a number of regions. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, it has generated almost...
Stop.
You have to back that up. Did he say charcoal?
I think so. Let's listen.
Jewelry industries are after. But who's in control of all that?
The illegal extraction of minerals, timber, charcoal, and wildlife.
I think it's just charcoal.
So there's the illegal extraction of charcoal.
This is a UN guy, so I'm not going to even think that he knows what he's talking about.
So I guess charcoal, some valuable diamond-like commodities, a forest burns down and they illegally smuggle out the burnt wood? Is that what he's saying?
I think.
Wow.
Charcoal. It could be something else, not charcoal, but charcoal. Is that possible? Is it a different shark? No. How about shark oil? Maybe you meant that.
Shark oil. Yeah, the illegal extraction of land shark oil.
Jewelry industries are after, but who's in control of all that?
The illegal extraction of minerals, timber, charcoal, and wildlife.
I think he's saying something else, John. He's saying something that we're hearing it wrong. Shark hole, I think.
Has fueled violence in a number of regions. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, it has generated almost $1 billion in revenue for rebels and criminal groups.
The country's politics has been a violent mess for over 20 years. Nowadays, a new Ebola outbreak is making things worse for locals. In only a few months, it took the lives of almost 200 people. The health ministry says they've never had to deal with outbreaks of that scale. And with armed thugs running the show in parts of the republic, doctors are losing confidence in their own efforts.
I do think this is one of the challenges. We'll have to see whether we're able to contain, control, and end the current outbreak within the current security situation.
After all, even the bravest doctors don't want to risk their lives when they're under a constant threat of being taken out.
Now, I just got to stop it here. So, again, I don't understand. We had a vaccine. It was effective. Everyone was happy. And then, of course, we got distracted with Zika for a little bit. Small heads. That just kind of went away. I guess we won that war as well, the war on Zika.
No,
of course not. But then, we had about a month, maybe I'm thinking a month ago, I think it was one of your clips. There was this weird kind of tent.
Oh, the famous tent, yeah, where you can go in and you just stick your hands in.
Yeah, so that's some big NGO that's doing that. So they've got NGO people running around. And you watch, the military is coming in next. That's why this is happening.
At times, it's just physically impossible to reach the affected areas unharmed. But as we've heard from the UN top man, business means money does find its way into the fighters' hands.
It comes out in a number of reports that are highlighted with the press on the companies that are doing little or no activity at all. There are some companies that used to report that are no longer reporting. And so there's also reputational risk for them to be seen as laggards and not doing enough to ensure that they are not fueling any of the conflict in the DRC. Regardless, the big name brands and the manufacturers and the companies that I would buy a cell phone or a computer or a car from do have influence. They're some of the richest companies in the world, and they have the ability to work with their suppliers and work through their supply chain and have that assurance that they're not causing to any death or destruction or violence against people, or the planet.
So let's deconstruct this for a moment. The story is about Ebola, and that pretty much leads. They start off by lumping it in with diamonds and cell phone minerals that you need for charcoal. For shark hole. There was a lot of different guesses for that in the troll room, as you can imagine.
Yeah, I'm sure none of them were accurate.
And maybe it was shale oil. Maybe it just came out wrong. I don't know. But the story goes into there's bad people there. There's rebels. It's but these companies aren't doing enough. I think we're either we're going to see military go in, and it's going to be under the guise of Ebola. But it's either to kick the Chinese out, which would be my first guess because they're the ones that run the show. And they're also the ones that
either. It's definitely to kick the Chinese out.
Yeah. Okay. There's no either.
What was your second guess? Not just out of curiosity.
Just to mess with Apple.
Oh, no, I don't think so. We have other ways of messing with Apple.
So all we need now is the announcement that we're sending in troops. The question is, will it be U.S. troops? Will it be UN troops? Will we send the blue helmets in? Because, then we can always add cholera to the mix. Where the UN's
they're good for.
Real good at that. So
Make sure you bring your canisters of cholera with
I
you.
am just waiting for this. Waiting for it.
Well, it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
So there's a big, horrible eastern weather. And then we, of course, have our fires. And Jay says that we should do the rain sticks because of the fires in San Francisco. Or the San Francisco Bay Area.
Okay,
or
well,
Northern California.
Well, here's the problem. I don't have a stick with me.
I said that might be better because then it won't be so we won't overdo it.
Yeah,
you want me to give a shake?
Hold on a second. Let's just take one thing into consideration. And by the way, you are hearing two professionals who are trained in the art of rain stick shaking. Shut. What are you doing?
I've just picked it up.
Well, see, you're already showing that you're a little rusty on the professionalism there.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, careful with that.
Be scolded. I need to take remedial lessons.
You're shooting rain everywhere, man. Create a local microclimate. These are made by Sherry in Utah, and they're real rain sticks, and they have been proven to work.
She's overboard.
No, I doubt it. Sherry Osborne's not overboard. She's around for sure. She'll be sending you an email about it.
We'll see.
Yeah. Now, here's the only thing that I'm worried about. If we shake the stick, that the next disaster in California will be the mudslides. And I don't necessarily know.
There's going to be rain eventually. And if we don't get the rain sooner than later, the mudslides will be worse.
Okay. I would say
I'm just going to do one rotation.
One revolution should be enough.
And the reason I'm saying that is because because of the report you're going to play next, which is horrible eastern weather.
Winter arrived early, taking a deadly toll on the South, killing 2 and injuring 44, some critically, on a roadside in Mississippi when this tour bus slid on an icy highway and flipped onto its side. The Mississippi Highway Patrol says the crash was weather-related. The sneak attack of snow, sleet, and freezing temperatures hit Arkansas, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Louisiana. Southerners have rarely seen this kind of weather this early in the year. Houston saw flurries this year before Boston did. But the frigid invasion of cold air is on the march north. Over the next few days, 85 million people will be affected. Don Daler, CBS News, New York.
Okay, Lonnie Quinn, chief weathercaster at WCBS now, is here. Lonnie, how bad is this going to get?
Well, I think one of the real bad elements about this storm is going to be the icing. Now, the icing, when you look at a radar picture, is depicted by the pink color. It's just like around the Louisville, Kentucky area. But, places like St. Louis, you're just getting into the storm. You'll pick up about a half a foot of snow, but it's that icing. Because sometimes you can drive your car on snow, tough to operate it on ice. And that I-81 corridor, anywhere from portions of Pennsylvania all the way down into North Carolina and around that area of Louisville, wherever you see that bright red color, you could pick up a half an inch, maybe even 3/4 of an inch of ice.
Wow.
Ice.
Here in the lowlands, it is now halfway through November. We were outside, and I'm here at my buddy Unico at his place, and it was like beautiful weather here. This is unheard of. It's unheard of.
We would be having beautiful weather here too if it wasn't for the reverse winds and all the smoke coming down from 200 miles away.
Hey, how come when we have a big disaster like a hurricane or anything like that, we always have Anderson Pooper and everyone's out there? Why didn't I see anyone in front of the fires?
Well, there's a lot of people in front of the fires, but none of the anchors decided to come out.
That's what I mean.
There's no good restaurants in the area.
Ah, okay. Now I understand. You've explained it perfectly.
It's like 100 miles north of Sacramento or something, hobo town. Would you like some beans?
There's no good restaurants. It's Occam's razor right there. You hear it live in action here on the No Agenda Show. Some clips just to make you smile, John. This is from our northern buddies there, Scandinavia. The weeds is legal up there. They're trying the weeds up there.
A Toronto judge
they don't want the edibles, though.
Well, this is wrong. This is a story about edibles, actually.
A Toronto judge called Vittorio Dominelli a complete idiot after a guilty plea in a College Park courthouse Friday. He said he and his partner, Jamie Young, had never tried weed before and decided to give it a go, a decision he regretted about 20 minutes later.
Northbound Oakwood and Vaughan, what is going on? What do you need the ambulance for? I think I'm going to pass out. Okay, are you injured at all? Did anything happen? I'm just lightheaded.
That's Dominelli using a police radio to call for help after getting so high he thought he was dying. One of the officers that rushed to the scene slipped on ice and suffered a concussion. She's still not able to work. Dominelli apologized to his family, the court, and the police. A date for sentencing will be set next week.
Fantastic story. Yeah, some edibles. Oh, I think I'm going to die, man. Let me call HQ.
We've talked about this before. We'll talk about it again as a warning to people who don't understand what's going on. Edibles, which are a great product, you have to standardize yourself on them by taking, if you have they have these little chocolate bits and they're all packaged up individually. You could down one of those and you'd be waiting an hour and a half, nothing happens. So you take another one. In fact, knowing that it's going to take you 2.5 hours for an edible to take effect, this is advice. Don't even take a whole one. Take a half of one and see what happens to you. You'll find that possibly the half of a little piece after 2.5 hours is more than adequate for whatever you're interested in doing, usually listening to music.
Rihanna is recommended.
Rihanna's a good place to start. And just saying, these guys are idiots. I don't think the packages make it clear enough. Very nice packaging, but it doesn't have any real instructions on it.
For the troll room, I just want you to know that when it comes to edibles as a product, indeed, John is the authority on this. I
have to be.
I am authority. Yes, your voice is needed. It's very strange. Well, there are companies that are working on making that go faster.
There are companies that are also being threatened by the government because they're thinking of taking edibles off the market because of this problem of idiots like that guy up in Canada.
Well,
it's becoming a problem for the
We need an education campaign by the Lear Foundation, by the Hollywood Lear Foundation.
They should do it, actually.
Or you could just purchase this next product.
Many discoveries in my life, but you don't have to be an Einstein to know it's more important than ever to keep dreaming.
Keep your dreams alive. Start with a good night's sleep. Unisom sleep tabs help you fall asleep 33% faster.
At Otto's 33, that's a magic number. What?
It's the magic number.
It shows up.
What?
Yes. Not 32.
Where are you getting these
not
weird?
34.
Weird clip.
Not 34, but 33% faster. 97% of all scientists agree.
Yeah, it's 33%. Here's an offbeat clip from this. That never got national attention, but I thought it had potential.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Baraboo High School Nazi salute.
In Wisconsin, Baraboo High School has come under intense scrutiny as a photo of at least 60 male students giving the Nazi salute went viral this week. One student in the front row is seen making a white power symbol with his index finger and thumb.
Oh, no.
The photo was reportedly taken ahead of the student's junior prom last spring and was posted on a social media site with the hashtag Baraboo Proud.
She emphasizes it at the end as though that's some sort of code.
what the hell is that? I mean, now, what were they doing? What were these kids thinking? Just help me with that, first off.
They're goofballs
from
Wisconsin, and somebody thought it would be funny. I said, hey, man, look, we're all white. Let's do a Nazi salute and take a picture of it and then post it, man. That'll get some big laughs. These guys are all stoners.
It's those edibles. They should have just stayed home listening to Rihanna. But no, they had to go and do that. Well, thank you. That made my day. Or evening, I should say, as we're coming up on 9 p.m.
You gonna go out and get something to eat?
No, Unico has actually cooked something for me.
Oh, good.
Guys' night in. Yeah. All right. Hey, I'll be here for Sunday's show as well. So I'm sure I'll have more European news rundown of what's happening here in the old country as we gear up to go to war with the United States, amongst others.
Yay.
Good for us. Please remember us in our value for value model and support the show by going to Dvorak.org/NA. And thank you all producers. Thank you Troll Room. Thank you back office. Thank you infrastructure, etc. And thank you John C. Dvorak. Coming to you from the loft here in Leyden in the Netherlands, Gitmo Nation Lowlands. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley. Well, we're being invaded, apparently, in the southern border, but we'll talk about that in the next show. I'm John C. Dvorak.
Until Sunday, adios, mofos.
CNN should be ashamed of itself. That's not going to happen. Excuse me. I think you should let me run this country. You run CNN. That's enough. That's enough. That's enough. It happened a few days ago. That's not going to happen. Mr. President, that's enough. That's enough. That's enough. Excuse me. I think you should let me run the country. You run CNN. That's not going to happen. That happened a few days ago. Mr. President, CNN should be ashamed of itself. Mr. President, that's enough. Mr. President, that's enough. That's not going to happen. It happened a few days ago. Excuse me. I think you should let me run the country. You run CNN. That's not going to happen. It happened a few days ago. That's not going to happen. That's enough. That's enough. That's enough. That's enough. Mr. President, that's enough. Mr. President, that's
By the way, I have the peak oil of the dogs. It's actually for myself. I don't have to worry because here's what's going to happen. As climate change makes temperatures warmer, crops fail, we have a global food shortage. We start eating the dogs and cats, fixes climate change.
Fido's back, give him a whack, and cook him up to make a snack. Marinate him through and through, then throw him onto the barbecue, cooking the dog. I'm just cooking the dog. If you don't know how to do it, I'll show you how to cook the dog. Got hold of my neighbor's pet. Gotta be the best recipe yet. Thinly sliced, flesh just seared, just like they do in the north of Korea. Cooking the dog. I'm just cooking the dog. If you don't know how to do it, I'll show you how to cook the dog. Well, you may think that this is strange. We eat our pets for climate change. Save the planet and feed the poor. A sweet potato fries and a slice of Al Gore. Cooking the dog. I'm just cooking the dog. If you don't know how to do it, I'll show you how to cook the dog. Hey, Pooch, come over here. We got something for ya.
right?
Yeah, I'm all in.
Dinner at my place.
As usual, it's Broward County.
What's going on in Broward County?
And the first time we hear Broward's election supervisors speak publicly about the medical marijuana ballot glitch.
Broward hot. Broward got the juice.
Broward's back.
This tree is a reminder of the power of this tornado that touched down here at Broward College's North Campus.
There's none of the ugliness that we expected about the fraud, or what I call the Fugazi fraud.
Once again from Broward County, and we're facing another election dispute focused largely on Broward County.
We've been talking about this. It's hard for us in Broward County to wrap our minds around the fact that this happened in our community.
The Broward County Sheriff's Office posted a new fact-checker website, which it says is meant to clarify misinformation and allegations.
Law enforcement are finding and documenting more flocka in Broward than anywhere else in the nation.
Clearly, this is something that has grabbed the attention of the American public.
Just now, Red Tide is here in Broward County.
We have area SWAT teams and the Broward Sheriff's Office SWAT team clearing the entire airport.
If you look at Broward County, they have had a horrible history.
There are still votes to be counted here at Broward County Election Headquarters, but they won't say how many.
Saturday in Broward County.
Mofo.
Dvorak.org/NA.
Wow, I am really high.